Order, honorable members. I have been told by the whippery that they have agreed that there will be no notices of motions or motions without notice today, except for the motions on the order paper. I am told even though I have not taken alcohol, I am reasoning like somebody who has smelled it. My apologies to the House. Am I forgiven? Thank you very much. We proceed, honorable members, to notices of motions. Honorable Labuskafne, Honorable Mpambo Shibukwane, Honorable Hatton, in this row, Honorable Mukwilin, you are number 4, Honorable Isaac, number 5, Honorable Smith, number 6. Do I have hands in this row? In that order, please. Honorable Labuskafne.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move with notice that this House debates the building of an inclusive society and growing an economy that creates jobs, with an emphasis on the 8.3 million unemployed South Africans. I so move. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Mpambo Shibukwane.
Thank you, Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move with notice that this House debates the deteriorating state of basic education and violation of the constitutional right to basic education of learners in the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and Limpopo province in the light of the decline in the 2015 matric results. I so move. I thank you, Chairperson.
The Honorable Hatton.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move with notice that this House notes that the Electoral Court found that the Independent Electoral Commission was not in compliance with the Constitutional Court judgment on the provision of addresses for 6 wards in the Tlokwe municipality in Potchefstroom, which contained approximately 16,000 voters. In light of the postponement of all the by-elections in South Africa, scheduled for the 24th of February, I here request that you, Chairperson, in terms of Rule 84.2a of the National Council of Provinces, to allow this issue as a matter of urgent public importance to be discussed by the Council in order to urgently debate the election readiness of the IEC for the 2016 local government elections, with an emphasis on similar non-compliance of the National Voters Roll, which contains more than 20 million voters. I thank you.
Honorable Hatton, that is a notice without, a motion without notice.
This is a notice, Honourable Chair, this is a notice of motion.
The notice of a motion.
Yes.
But the notice of a motion, when I have started deliberately with motions without notice, because usually they are uncontentious. Can you hold on and come back when we deal with that category?
Thank you. I will certainly do that. But, Honourable Chair, it may be my mistake, but I was certain that I heard that you switched them around from which you used to do when I still had another capacity, and you as well. But I've got a notice, a motion without notice as well.
It's a motion without notice.
That I've got as well.
If it is a notice without notice and it actually calls for a matter which must be discussed by the House urgently, Isn't the procedure, Honorable Member, that in fact I would have been given notice in writing to prepare to give a response to you, and if I had said no, then perhaps you would go the route you have taken? That is the process. That you cannot come and spring in a motion and demand an urgent public interest item to be discussed without actually giving us due notice.
Yeah, Honourable Chair, if it's my mistake, but I clearly heard that you switched it around today, but I will deal with this one. Can it be then regarded as not delivered? I've got a motion without notice.
Please deliver what you say you want us to consider for a discussion or a debate on public interest on an urgent basis to my office.
I will do that.
Thank you very much. You've got another one.
Honourable Chair, I think I was confused because I heard that you said the other way around. I have a motion without notice.
A motion without notice, you are
different one.
recognized. Other members.
Thank you. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move a motion without notice that this House notes that the World Health Organization has declared an international public health emergency in regard to the Zika virus, which is spreading rapidly in the Americas. And in the light of the recent diagnosis of a Colombian businessman visiting South Africa with the Zika virus, that this House calls upon Minister Motsoaledi to present interventionist plans to the NCOP for the purpose of instilling confidence in his department's ability to prevent and indeed mitigate the health crisis. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable members, there is no objection to the Zika motion, Zika virus. There is objection. The Honorable Mukwele.
Thank you, Chair. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters that the House in its next sitting debate the release of the report of the former Minister Sicelo Shiteka on corruption in municipalities of Northwest and ways of implementation of its resolution thereafter.
Are you on a motion? Okay, I had recognized Honorable Esak after Honorable Mukwele and Honorable Schmidt thereafter. I do remember the line I had recognized. It is Honorable Esak, Honorable Schmidt, Honorable Kaula, Honorable Dlamini, Mema Nopole. I had not received any hands from this row. Okay, ma'am.
Honourable Chairperson, I thank you for the opportunity, and I trust we are now on notice of motion. Am I correct, Chairperson?
Without.
Without, because, you see, there's a confusion in the House, Honourable Chair. I'll take direction from you.
Honourable members.
I'll take direction from you, Chairperson.
Order. You are confusing the chair, and that is not allowed. Because the chair must always keep a clear head. May I just come back? Honorable Abskachni, the notice you gave was without notice or with notice? Notice of a motion?
With notice. Motion.
It was notice of a motion, okay.
Notice of a motion. Thank you.
Which means that the notice that the Honorable Hatton gave was a notice of a motion. But then my ruling would still stand. Excuse me just a little bit, Honorable Esak.
No problem.
My notice would still then stand, Honorable Hatton, that it needed to be reduced into writing. Which means that the notice that he then subsequently read, Honorable members, since it is a notice of a motion, would not need to be objected to. because it is a notice of a motion. Have I corrected myself? With big apologies. Honorable Mokwili, your notice of a motion. No, I'm giving you opportunity to restart your notice of a motion so that we then regularize everybody.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you, Chair.
It is the same one that you
Yeah,
had
it's
read.
the same one. It's
Yes.
the same one. I rise on behalf of the EFF that the House in its next sitting debate the release of the report of the former Minister Sicelo Chiteka on corruption in municipalities of Northwest and ways of implementation of its resolutions thereafter. So move.
Honorable members, that is a notice of a motion. Honorable Esak, you are on the next.
Thank you again, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move with notice that this House debates the failing of the Nkomazi, Emakazeni, Governor Mbeki, Lekwa, Tabacheu, and Chief Albert Lutuli local municipalities in Mpumalanga to pay their ESCOM bills and its direct impact on residents. I so move. Thank you.
Honorable Schmidt?
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move with notice that in light of the persisting drought crisis and massive losses of livestock in parts of South Africa, escalating food prices and water shortages, I move that this House urgently debates the current drought and the declaration of it as a national disaster in terms of Section 23 and 27 of the Disaster Management Act. I so move.
Honorable Kaula, Honorable Dlamini, Honorable Manopole.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I don't belong to that group, Honorable Chairperson. I'm the other group without notice.
Okay, then we are now still with notice. Medlamin?
Without notice.
Notice of a motion? Okay. Notice of a motion? Yes, ma'am. Honorable Engelbach.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move with notice that this House debates the constitutionality of the Maiden's Bursary in the Itukwela District Municipality in KwaZulu-Natal, where young girls undergo virginity testing to qualify for funding for higher education, with an emphasis on the constitutional rights to equality, human dignity, privacy, and freedom of choice. I so move.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable members, that is the end of notices of motion. We then proceed to motions without notice. I already have the first three hands, that is Ntate Kaula, Medlamini, Memanopole. Please, the others, please note. Are you without notice or with notice? Okay. Chief Whip?
Chairperson of the Council, thank you very much for this opportunity. On behalf of all these permanent delegates of this August House, I hereby move without notice that the Council, 1, notes with profound sadness and grief the passing away of the mothers of Honorable Mr. S.J. Muhai and Honorable Mr. A.J. Nyambi. 2, further notes that the mother of Honorable Nyambi will be laid to rest on Friday, that is tomorrow, 26 February, in Block C village in Nkomasi, in the Mpumalanga province, and the mother of Honorable Mohai will be laid to rest on Saturday, 27th February in Botshabelo in the Free State Province. And lastly, we take this moment to convey that the council takes this moment to convey its profound and heartfelt condolences to both Honorable Mohai and Honorable Nyambi and their families, and wishes them strength in these trying times. I so move. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. I do know that all of us will be with them in thought and in prayer. We then move on to Ndate Kaula.
Ngiyathokoza sihlalo hloniphekile. On behalf of Inkatha Freedom Party, I move without notice that the House extends its deepest condolences to the Mtshali family on the sad passing of former KwaZulu-Natal Premier Dr. Lionel Percival Hercules Mbeki Mtshali at the age of 80 on Sunday, 13 December 2015 at Westville Hospital in Durban. Dr. Mtshali served as Minister of Education in the erstwhile KwaZulu government. He became a Member of Parliament in 1994. He became Minister of Arts and Culture in the Government of National Unity and Premier of KwaZulu-Natal until 2004. Dr. Mtshali was a loyal and dedicated member of the IFP who rose to the ranks of National Chairperson, a skilled administrator, and an academic. He leaves behind a legacy, having joined the Treatment Action Campaign in taking the national government to the Constitutional Court to force the provision of the antiretrovirals in the early 2000s. He was alive, well-lived, well-deserving of the special provincial funeral for which the IFP is grateful. Hamba kahle, Manchinga.
Thank you, honorable members. I am loath to ask members to object to a motion of condolences. I don't think it is proper. Our sympathies to the IFP and to the Mtshali family. The Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. On behalf of the mighty organization, the African National Congress, I hereby move without notice that Council notes that the Save Philanthropies announced a pledge of 75,000 required for the completion of a film on the life of Ashley Grill. Also note that Ashley Grill, a member of Mkondo Wesizwe, was only 20 years old when he was killed in Athlone in 1987. A few months after he returned from military training in the ANC camps in Angola. Also note that police officer Jeffrey Benzin admitted to the Truth and Reconciliation that he had shot a handcuffed girl in the back, and therefore commend Save Philanthropies on making it possible for this important part of our history to be documented and taught to the young people of our country. I so move.
Is there any objection to this motion? Honorable Mokoena objects. Therefore, the motion is not carried. The Honorable Manopole. Yeah, Honorable Mukweli, I've got your name.
Motion without notice. I hereby move without notice that Council notes that Mrs. Noma Putukazi Piloso passed on 24th February 2016 at Tsulo in Eastern Cape, mother-in-law of Honorable Dumisani Qimbi, who is the chairperson of the Select Committee of Justice. She will be buried on the 4th of March 2016 at Tsulo. On behalf of the African National Congress, send condolences to the family of Paliso and Qimbi, wishing you and your family peace, to bring comfort, courage to the peace days ahead of loving memories of forever hold in your hearts. I so move.
Again, it's a condolence motion. We can let it ride. Honorable Mukweli.
Thank you, Chair.
I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters and move without notice that The House know that Moses Kotane local municipality is a rural municipality with 31 wards, 107 villages, and 2 urban areas, that is Mokwase and Madikwe. The House know that this municipality is one of the most corrupt in the country, where its mayor, Fetsang Mokatitebe, interferes with the appointment of staff, that she influenced the appointment of her friend's daughter to occupy a PA position in her office, that she influenced the appointment of her nephew as a CLO in the office of the Speaker in the position she didn't qualify for, that she influenced appointment of all incompetent and unqualified directors, that the regular abuse of power by Fetsang Mokatitebe be investigated. 7, that the South Africans reject the ANC in 2016 local government elections, and note that the economic freedom fighters is our last hope for South Africans. I so move.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any objection to the motion? There is objection. The Honorable Mohapi. Order. Honorable Mohapi is on the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I hereby move on behalf of the ANC a motion without notice that the Council knows that the convicted drug dealer, Rodovan Kresha, and his 5 co-accused were sentenced in Johannesburg High Court on charges of intention to deal in drugs, kidnapping, and attempted murder. I further note that Kresha and Santin businessman Desai Lupondo were sentenced to 35 years in jail. Taxi boss Sibonisa Mia and 3 Hawks officers were sentenced to 15 years in jail. Also note that the Hawks are supposed to be fighting crime and securing the lives of the people instead of being involved in criminal activities, putting the lives of the citizens in danger. And therefore commend, Honorable Chair, the police for a job well done in ensuring that these criminals will not be roaming on our streets very soon. I so move.
Thank you, sir. Is there any objection to this motion? Thank you. The Honorable Schmidt.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to move a motion without notice that this House notes that 179 villages in Mogalakwena local municipality are experiencing a serious water crisis, that the municipality have currently 8 water tankers, of which 1 is out of order, and that the village of Mzombani has no services, including water, for the past 12 years already. That this House calls on the Minister of Kokta and Water and Sanitation to assist the municipality with immediate relief, and that a report on the plan of action and progress of the issue be submitted to the Select Committee of Koksta on a monthly basis. I so move.
Thank you, sir. Is there any objection to this motion? Motion has been objected to. We proceed to Honorable Mokhosi.
Thank you, Chairperson. I rise on behalf of the Economic Freedom Fighters to move without notice that the Councillor of ANC, Makhotle, in Tswelopele municipality in the Free State assaulted a 9-year-old Selwane Makoba in Bultfontein. The case was opened in Bultfontein, Free State, case number 146/08/2015. Council noted the very same councillor was the ex-police woman, and because of her corrupt connections, she has not yet been arrested. I therefore appeal to South Africans to reject ANC government and its corrupt councillors in 2016 elections. Economic freedom fighters is our last hope for corrupt-free government institution. I so move.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any objection to this motion? Motion objected to. The Honorable Mlambo.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I hereby move without notice that the Council knows that today marks the 20th day since the collapse at Lily Mine in Mpumalanga, where 3 miners remain trapped underground. Also note that Pretin Kambule Yvonne Mnisi and Solomon Nyarende were inside the container that fell down a sinkhole. Further note that as the rescue workers do all they can to find the missing trio, the families have not left the mine compound where their loved ones worked. Sleeping in a tent that has been erected by the mining company, and therefore sends our prayers to families, friends, and colleagues of the trapped miners, and hope that they will be found as soon as possible. I so move. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Is there any objection to this motion? Thank you. That motion is carried. Members will note that the motions by the Honorable Mukwili, the Honorable Mukhosi, the Honorable Beyers Smith were objected to. Those motions will now become, and Lamini, those motions will now become, please, can I finish? Those motions will now become notices of motions. Honorable members, that was, Honorable Mhapi, there is no question in the House. You are saying the MEC, I must notice she's saying no. The rights of the member of the House, even when they are special delegates, are respected. I thank you, Ms. Rockman. Can we proceed, honorable members? If there are no further notices of motions, we proceed to the next order of the day.
Consideration of Local Government Municipal Electoral Amendment Bill B22B 2015, National Assembly Section 75, and report of Select Committee on Social Services thereon.
Honorable members, I call to the podium the chairperson of the Local Government and Municipal Electoral Bill, the Honorable L.C. Dlamini.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. My greetings to the Minister of Home Affairs, the MECs in our midst, honorable members. I am, on behalf of the committee, would like to present the Local Government Electoral Municipal Bill. The main objectives of the bill are to define an expression and amend a definition, to amend provisions relating to the nomination of candidates in order to provide for the election, submission of candidates, nomination documents, and party lists. Also to provide for different modalities for payment of electoral deposits, to provide for the notification of interested parties where a candidate has been nominated by more than one person or party, to clarify the circumstances in which marked ballot papers may be cancelled at the instance of voters, and to clarify the provisions relating to the determination and declaration of the results of by-elections. In terms of process, Honorable Chairperson, the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Act number 108 of 1996, makes a provision that when a National Assembly passes a bill other than a bill to which the procedure set out in Section 74 or 76 applies, the bill must be referred to the National Council of Provinces and dealt with in accordance with the procedures prescribed in the Constitution. As required by the Constitution, on the 29th of October 2015, The Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs agreed with all the proposed changes and adopted the Local Government Municipal Electoral Amendment Bill, Bill 22 of 2015. Subsequent to the adoption of the bill by the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs, the bill was then referred to the Select Committee on Social Services for consideration. On the 24th of November 2015, the Select Committee on Social Services met with Independent Electoral Commission and Department of Home Affairs to give briefing on the bill. Having thoroughly considered the proposed amendments to the bill, the committee raised an issue that needs to be considered by the committee. Even though the bill is Section 75, the committee is required to do public participation. The committee therefore gave a period of 5 weeks to do public participation, which was concluded in January. On the 25th of November 2016, the committee met again to decide on a date where the bill will be deliberated and approved by the committee. Honorable Chairperson, I would like to indicate to the House that all members of the committee who were present unanimously agreed that the meeting to decide on the bill should be January 26, 2016. The briefing by the IEC and Home Affairs was followed by public participations and hearings where social network platforms were used, as well as radio adverts, which ran for 5 weeks. One submission was received. I must indicate, Honorable Chairperson, that the submission that we got, it was received after the closing date. But the committee, considering the importance of the bill and also the time where it is tabled, and then the committee agreed that even though the submission was received late, it will consider the submission. And after the submission of the bill and consider the amendments to the bill, the Select Committee on Social Services adopted the bill. There are key aspects of the amendment bill that one would like to speak to. The bill seeks to give more credibility to the polls conducted at all levels in South Africa. The bill has 7 clauses to be amended. It will enable the IEC to generate electronic and manual candidate nomination documents and party lists. This means that candidates will also be able to pay electoral participation deposits electronically instead of submitting bank guaranteed checks. The bill is also expected to make party candidates' lists more transparent. The bill also enactment will pave the way for the reissue of ballot papers to voters when they make a material error or want to change their mind. But this will only be allowed if the paper is not released to a ballot box. The amendment further gives the authority to prescribe the number of times a voter may return a ballot whilst being conscious to Section 19 of the Constitution. The bill also proposes that an independent candidate must, together with his or her nomination documents, provide the Commission with a recent photograph in a form of prescribed by the Commission. The amendment also seeks to clarify the uncertainty around the determination and declaration of election results, which are related to the by-elections. The bill requires that the Chief Electoral Officer notifies the relevant authorities where a particular candidate is being nominated by more than one person to give the opportunity to that candidate for a change. On behalf of the committee, Honorable Chairperson, we table the bill for the council consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable members, that concludes the debate. I shall now put the question, and the question is that the bill be agreed to. In accordance with Rule 63, I will allow political parties to make their declarations to vote if they so wish. Does any political party wish to make a declaration? None. If that is the case, we shall now proceed to the voting. Members will vote by pressing in favor, against, or abstain. The two ministers are not our special delegates in this instance. Special delegates and permanent delegates may vote. Honorable Hatton.
I've only been here a few months, but I'm not yet on the system.
Honorable Magui has been here for 2 years. He's not on the system. Honorable Hatton, my apologies once again. I know that the last time we voted this happened. I will really attend to it when I leave this chair today. Honorable members, have you all voted? Free State, please behave. Free State. Honorable Mateus, die dingetjie werk nie. Okay. Honorable members, those who are having problems with their systems, please raise, I think you can, there are no secrets, you can declare. You are sorted. Honorable Hatting, you are not yet sorted? You are not sorted? Okay. Have all other members except for Honorable Makue and Honorable Hatting voted? Will you please indicate how you have voted, Honorable Hatton? In favor? Honorable Makwe?
In favor, Chairperson.
Okay. All members have voted. Thank you. Honorable members, we have 28 members who have voted. 24 members have voted in favor. 4 members have voted against. Therefore, order. Therefore, the question has been agreed to. I wish to order. Honorable members, we move on to the next item on the order paper, and it is the subject of the discussion this afternoon.
Honorable Chair,
Honorable Labaskachni.
on a point of order, may I just ask, is there any rulings from the Chair today based on the sitting of on the plenary of the 23rd of February, Tuesday? The reason why I ask that is there was a point of order done by Honorable Faber on something that Honorable Minister Gigaba said, and an undertaking was given that there will be a ruling on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Labaskachni. Honorable members, the member who is presiding must be the same member who comes and makes a ruling. That is the problem that I have today. I was not presiding when that matter arose, and therefore, the member who was on this chair on that day must come back and give a ruling. I have not been briefed. I do not have any ruling. But I can make sure that I do submit a written reminder to that I think it was Honorable Dikale who was presiding, will make sure that that ruling has not been forgotten. Yes. Can we proceed, honorable members? I therefore proceed and invite the Honorable Minister for Home Affairs, Honorable Gigaba, to the podium, please. You are in order, Honorable Minister. Please continue.
Honorable Chairperson, the first ever Pan-African Congress held in London in the year 1900, which brought together Africans from the African continent, the United States, and the Caribbean, made the clarion call, "The problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line." Indeed, those prophetic words were to come to pass, as the 20th century dismally failed to solve the problem of the color line. We are here today engaged in this debate precisely because of the debt we owe to the ages to solve the problem of the color line. From the outset, let us make the firm point that the colonization of South Africa, as that of the other colonies, and the emergence of racism as a global problem had been spawned by the emergence and spread of capitalism as a global system. Even to this day, this afternoon, as the NCOP gathers to debate this abomination, we would do well to remind ourselves that first, the origins and persistence of racism in South Africa was not merely a result of virulent hatred of black people inherent in a core of white South Africans. It is and always has been primarily about achieving and maintaining economic predominance through the dispossession and marginalization of black people. Secondly, the fight against racism is ultimately not about convincing fellow white South Africans to eschew prejudice and their superiority complex and view their fellow black South Africans as equals, but it is about directly attacking the system of racialized property ownership, as well as the ill-gotten power, privileges, and resources emanating from that system, entrenched in our society over many centuries and supported by the colonial and imperialist system. Thirdly, ultimately, the campaign against racism in South Africa is at the same time a pan-Africanist and global campaign, the victory of which will fundamentally change Africa's relations with the world and affirm our continent as an equal partner in the global political, economic, and cultural system. Fourthly, we must desist forthwith from regarding the recent outbreak of racism as a mere resurgence of a phenomenon that had otherwise died in 1994. The fact is that racism is still alive and well in our country, and there are many South Africans, many of whom sit in these very chambers as honorable members, who are both overtly and covertly white supremacists and are involved daily in racial practices. And finally, not every white South African is racist. There are many who not only abhor racism, but are part of the collective struggle to build a non-racial society. More than anything else, it was exclusive and unfettered access to land, mineral resources, and cheap labor power of the black majority that was to play a decisive role in the advent and perpetuation of racism in South Africa in its grotesque form. To sustain this system, the white bourgeoisie did not merely have to rely on exploiting the labor of the proletarians, regardless of race, as would pertain under normal capitalist conditions, but had to invent a new political system that would work within a given context of colonialism and that would give the fullest expression to their exclusive material ambitions. The entire edifice of white supremacy was predicated on this notion that Africans were cheap and expendable labor, beasts of burden, with neither a political role nor socio-economic rights, trespassers in white South Africa, belonging in impoverished Bantustans, townships, hostels, and compounds. In pursuit of these aims, the successive white supremacist regimes sought to unite all white groups, especially the Brits and the Boers, and forge them into a single ruling bloc, particularly after the so-called Anglo-Boer War. They sought the all-round political defeat of the black population, they are splitting into different and disparate ethnic groups in order to preclude their unification, even as the different white factions pursued their own unification and their subjugation. They co-opted white workers into the system by offering them exclusive privileges in order to give them a stake and thus offer them something to defend. They invented a system of the most brutish political repression and economic exploitation, sustained and supported by a vicious repressive machinery such as Kufut and Flag Plus, and they sought to instill group fear among its beneficiaries for the future, which would include the black majority. This ensured that even as the institutional racism was defeated, as it finally happened in 1994, most white South Africans would remain beholden to the system, determined to defend their ill-gotten power, resources, and privileges. Chairperson, racism is the original sin of our republic. For 4 centuries, discrimination based on race, class, and gender has been at the heart of the indignity, social division, dispossession, and injustice which continues to bedevil our nation. Accordingly, we have always understood it that the National Democratic Revolution would resolve the 3 basic and interrelated contradictions of colonialism of a special type in South Africa. That is racial oppression, class super-exploitation, and patriarchal relations of power. To build the South Africa of our dreams, a South Africa in which all of its people are able the more fully to realize their potential, we must accelerate the critical work of overcoming racial prejudice and building a non-racial and non-sexist society. Despite the demise of apartheid, racism has, however, remained pertinent in our society. Accordingly, what Penny Sparrow, Honorable Diane Kohler-Barnett, and fellow racists have done recently should not have come as a surprise. Over the years, we have witnessed many racial actions by white supremacists strewn across the country who have still arrogated to themselves the power of God to decide who should live and who should die, and why. It is easy to dismiss these extreme instances as naked, these extreme instances of naked racism as anomalies, but are they really? Certainly, I believe that the vast majority of our citizens, black and white, would never insult or physically attack their fellow citizens of other races in this manner. However, the perpetrators of these acts did not drop from the sky or have some kind of inexplicable episode which made them act in a way which is completely alien to the value systems and belief which they drew from their upbringing. In fact, I believe that their actions are merely extreme manifestations of a particular kind of racial logic which is far too common and shared by many, which posits that white people are at the top of a social hierarchy, and deservingly so. If other races have been allowed to coexist with whites, they must do so in a way which does not disturb white hegemony. By right of their position at the top of the social hierarchy, white people are entitled to decide who can enter various spaces and on what terms. White bodies are sacred and inviolable. Black bodies are of lower value and can be violated and harmed as necessary or on the whim of a white person. White privilege is vast, deserved, and as normal as the fact that the sun rises in the east and that the apple which falls from the tree falls to the ground. White people in spaces and positions of power are assumed to be them deservingly and by right. Black people in spaces and positions of power are trespassing unless proven otherwise. These are the underlying conscious and unconscious beliefs of the many that explain the extreme actions of the few, some of whom stride these august chambers with pride, hoping that along the corridors they will meet their erstwhile heroes such as P.W. Botha, John Foster, and others. Overt racism, in the form of insulting speech and physical violence against black people, are amongst the most visible, visceral, and undermining expressions of racism, but they are actually only the tip of the iceberg. Overt racism is the 10% of racial injustice that lies above the water, that society congratulates itself on identifying and avoiding when it is cited. Structural racism, the overarching and interrelated social, economic, and political norms which produce and reinforce both white privilege and black disadvantage, is the 90% of the iceberg below the water, which we do not see easily or address. Structural racism is about power. It is about the power to decide who will have and who will not have. It was constructed to distort the playing field such that most whites were social and economic winners and most blacks were social and economic losers. There is no question that we are still living with the legacy of structural racism. I do not point this out as an excuse. The ANC-led government, working with the people of South Africa, has made great strides in undoing this painful legacy. We need to do more, faster, but we refuse to accept a narrative which says that what took 350 years to create should have been undone in 20 or 25 years. The legacy of structural racism is painful and real. It is about white families benefiting from intergenerational wealth, passing down money, land, and assets from generation to generation, while the average black family not only has very little to pass on except poverty. It is about the fact that statistically, the most likely to be wealthy and employed is a white person, whilst the most likely to be poor and unemployed is a black woman. It is about the spatial inequality in our cities, which reinforces the racial, class, and gender disparities that have been so persistent even to this day. It is about the average white household's income being as much as 6 times higher than that of the average black household. It is about the fact that land, an important factor of production and the foundation of economic wealth, security, and human dignity, remains largely in white hands. It is about the issues being raised by university students, that black students, even talented students with good matric results, exist precariously at our universities, that they struggle to pay fees, access accommodation, and feed themselves at universities, that they feel disrespected and excluded by curricula and teaching staffs which remain dominated by white men. And yet we expect them to compete on an equal playing field with their white and international counterparts. Structural racism has thus been the defining feature of social, political, and economic life in South Africa for over 350 years, and has only begun to be rolled back by the progressive social and economic policies developed and implemented by the ANC government, demonstrating our unyielding resolve to pursue the vision of a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous South Africa. In my view, there are 3 broad areas which we must address to defeat racism. Chairperson, the Freedom Charter proclaimed in 1955 that our country will never be prosperous or free until all our people live in brotherhood, enjoying equal rights and opportunities. In this way, the Charter linked political freedom with economic and social equality. The ANC's 1969 strategy and tactics said that, I quote, "In our country, more than in any other part of the oppressed world, it is inconceivable for liberation to have meaning without a return of the land to the people as a whole. It is therefore a fundamental feature of our strategy that victory must embrace more than formal political democracy. To allow the existing economic forces to retain their interests intact is to feed the root of racial supremacy and does not represent even the shadow of liberation. Our drive towards national emancipation is therefore in a very real way bound up with economic emancipation. We have suffered more than just national humiliation," close quote. As I have explored already, black South Africans continue to be disadvantaged economically and socially in ways which many white South Africans not only are not, but also do not even understand or appreciate, judging by the nature of the conversations and debates we have. Therefore, we are adamant and unapologetic that the most critical task before us is radical economic transformation. Much as a lot has been done to drive a radical transformation agenda in the economy, we acknowledge that we need to do more, faster, more radically, and deeper to drive the change and achieve the goals of the Charter to ensure that all share in the country's wealth. Chairperson, the next area which is important for our efforts to defeat racism is honest and sustained social dialogue. We have to have conversations with one another and make the effort to understand one another. This includes both government-led efforts on nation building and social cohesion, as well as the myriad daily interactions and conversations between South Africans from all walks of life, led by civil society organizations. This is not a once-off or programmatic intervention. It is, however, a long-term generational process. We need to engage in honest conversations with one another, however uncomfortable and painful they may be at times, aimed at producing the all-important and abiding result that will be in the very best interest of our country and future generations. We must not allow the challenges of the time, the provocation of the moment, to detract us from the path already set by our forebears to create a non-racial, non-sexist, united, prosperous, and democratic society as our answer to the racial agenda of the white supremacists, what Anton Lembede and Steve Biko referred to as a human and humane civilization that would emerge out of Africa. Such conversations about nation building and social cohesion must address issues of class exploitation and gender inequality, as well as the newest South Africans, those who have recently immigrated to our country, and their offsprings who have roots in Africa, Europe, Asia, and elsewhere in the world. We cannot engage in an honest conversation about transformation, equality, and justice when many of our white brothers and sisters refuse to acknowledge white privilege. Some individuals and organizations among us seek to sidestep these fundamental issues, seeking rather to construct an ahistorical, farcical, and false narrative of white victimhood, persecution, and the lugubrious concept of reverse racism. Chairperson, we must strengthen our legal responses to racism. This means using the mechanisms currently provided by the courts and Chapter 9 institutions to address instances of racial discrimination, and we must be bold enough to consider introducing additional measures. The eyes of the world are watching how the new South Africa shall respond to the provocative actions of the few in a manner that still affirms their faith in the justness of our struggle and the historic correctness of our vision. The way we react to this racial provocation will go a long way to convince the younger generations that our strategies and tactics, as well as our strategic and tactical choices at the advent of the new South Africa, have thus far been correct and that we were right to pursue the path of reconciliation. We must hold accountable all individuals and organizations violating the dignity of fellow citizens through racist speech or physical violence. We need to respond firmly and harshly to such individuals or organizations. Ultimately, with respect to racist speech, as I have argued already, we must address the social and economic differences, the material factors which underlie and produce white privilege and black disadvantage if we are to defeat racism and usher in a non-racial society. Pursuing reconciliation on its own is completely inadequate and will not take us to where we want to be. Individual racism, while painful and deplorable, is but the tip of the iceberg. However, we must draw the line. Black people are the majority in South Africa. South Africa is an African nation in Africa. After centuries of military, social, economic, and psychological violence, we are adamant that black South Africans will not and should not tolerate racist insults or degradation of any kind. In Germany, it is a crime to deny the fact of or impact of the Holocaust and to use anti-Semitic language, because that society appreciates the moral clarity and gravity of that period in its history. In that critical area, free speech is overridden. Let us define the racists outside the bounds of the acceptable. Let us say to them that you can think what you like, but when you enter the public sphere, if you insult someone racially, you will be charged, fined, or jailed if need be. I thank you, Chair.
Okay. The Honorable Smith.
Modula stolo ya tlhomphegago le hono re seka thaba yeo o e khomang maikutlo kudu yeo e lego gore e ka aga goba gona go thuba bokamotso bja rena le bja bana ba rena me modula setulo Getlolo ganyo ya semorafe ki mohuta wa getlolo ganyo go lebeletswe mala goba morafe wa motho. Go swana le kgetlhologanyo ya bong, kgetho ya tsa thobalano bialo bialo. Selo se tie seo se ikemago ka dikgetlhologanyo ya ka moka, ki ka mo di kwetšago botlhoko ka gona. Katlago ya batho petolo ya go kwa botlhoko ke go befelwa le go tlesela. Go ba gona go ikgogela morago le ga tšhaba. The other inherent human nature is to fit in or to blend into the group, even though you may not feel the same or even agree with them. A lot of South Africans tend to fall into this pothole. My plea to South Africans today is to do the right thing and to stand up against racism. Madam Chairperson, I have faith in our nation, and we, as leaders of South Africa, have a duty to set an example to our fellow South Africans. We need to maintain the moral high ground by not abusing our influence to divide South Africans. If the ANC leadership is committed to returning to the values of President Nelson Mandela, they will admit to South Africans today that they have been hiding their service delivery failures behind the strategy of racial division of our people. Gare kopanyeng ma Afrika Borwa, re boleleng ka mmo, re ka lokisha tshenyo ya kwa morago. Ke tekanyetso yeo itla holago setšhaba ka moka. Let's talk about how we will fix the inferior education system which still persists in previously disadvantaged communities. How we can bring about quality working infrastructure to poor and excluded communities so that we can stimulate the rural economy, and how we can ensure that South Africans become active citizens who have ownership in the economy through shares in the businesses and farms they work for, and how we can create a nation of entrepreneurs. Madam Chairperson, we cannot ignore the fact that discrimination in all its forms exists, of which racism is but one. The Democratic Alliance has long taken the lead in this regard. It is clear in our federal constitution, as well as the values charter we introduced at our Federal Congress in 2015. We reinforce our commitment by rolling out our anti-racism pledge to all our members and structures. Our pledge reads as follows. I pledge to uphold the values of the Constitution, to cherish its vision for a united, non-racial, democratic South Africa, and to nourish the vision in my personal conduct. I acknowledge that apartheid was an evil system and recognize that its legacy remains reflected in the unequal structure of South African society today. I reject discrimination in all its forms and pledge to help root it out wherever I encounter it in South Africa. I will not perpetuate racial division and will never undermine the dignity of my fellow South Africans. I instead will commit myself to working to overcome inequality and achieving shared prosperity. The DA invites all South Africans to do the same, and that is why today I brought for each and every member of the NCOP a copy of this pledge to sign. There's mine. Mokgatlo wa DA o ikanne mogo kopancheng gama ma Afrika Borwa ka moka mo meneng ya botle ya tokologo tekatekano le manyetla ya botle. Let me leave you with the wise and inspiring words of Helen Zille in 2011. While others divide, we will unite. While others give lip service to the plight of the poor, we will take up their cause. While others are corruptible, we will remain beyond reproach. For we are the Democratic Alliance, the Diverse Alliance, the Delivery Alliance. The hopes and aspirations of the rainbow people lie in our hands, and we dare not fail them. Close quote. I thank you.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable, the MEC for Rural Development and Agrarian Reform, Honorable Koboshiani.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I think we have now seen the reality of a dying alliance. The pledge that have been now shown to us indeed deserve to be seen by Collar Barnard and Sparrow, who belongs to the Democratic Alliance. I don't think there must be anyone who must come and boast here whilst the party is bleeding this country and reversing the gains of freedom and democracy. Last week, Honorable Chair, the heart of one of our finest sons of the soil, the Egyptian diplomat Boutros Ghali, ceased to beat. Let me, on behalf of the beautiful province of the Eastern Cape, join others in extending the deepest condolences to this internationalist. Like most of us, Boutros Ghali was acutely aware that racism degrades both the perpetrator and the victim. As a Secretary General of the United Nations, Boutros Ghali, together with Youthant and Dag Hammarskjöld, were some of the United Nations Secretary Generals who considered the agenda item, and I quote it, the question of South Africa during the stint of the United Nations. History reminds us that it was on the 17th of November 1952 when Z.K. Matthews, representative of the African National Congress, wrote a letter to ad hoc political committee of the United Nations on the question of race conflict in South Africa arising out of apartheid policy of government. Indulge me, Honorable Chairperson, to quote a short extract from his letter. Z.K. Matthews wrote, and I quote, "As a member of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress, I receive a call from a General Secretary, Mr. W.M. Sisulu, authorizing me to speak on behalf of the organization to the United Nations should the occasion arise," close quote. At the time, Z.K. Matthews was a lecturer at the University College of Fort Hare, and the institution had been warned by the then South African government not to allow him to speak and appear before it or before the ad hoc committee. This was the extent of the brutality of the apartheid racist regime, denying a man a freedom of expression. Honorable Chairperson, years later, historical archives of United Nations Security Council record that sufficient consensus was reached at the request of 32 African states to consider the first call ever for an arms embargo against a member state, South Africa, only in mid-1963. United Nations, you will recall, Madam Chair, also called upon all states to cease forthwith the sales and shipment of arms, ammunition, and all types of military vehicles to South Africa, protesting the country's racial policies. This was after the terrible Sharpeville massacre of 1960. Although it took blood and sweat for such resolution to see the light of the day, the likes of Boutros Ghali never gave up. Madam Chairperson, we knew on Sunday in Port Elizabeth when our Commander-in-Chief, President Zuma, hosted our Armed Forces Day, and through 21-gun salute, the shots fired were also to thank the gallant efforts of many courageous women and men who fought against racism and worked hand in hand with South African to bring about non-racial, non-sexist, democratic South Africa. The gun salute was a symbol to pay tribute to courageous efforts of more than 20,000 women who marched to the Union Building 60 years ago to say no to racism, racial prejudice, which is the subject of our debate today. We knew at the moment under the sunny African skies that Boutros Ghali was smiling. We also knew there and then when women soldiers marched along, men of all racial groups united in their diversity, that women of 1956 indeed had won. We knew then and there that Ruth First, Lillian Ngoyi, Dulcie September, Bertha Gqowa, Francis Matomela also had won. All of us know how stubborn racism can cling to the mind of how deeply it can inflict to the human soul. There are still places in our country where even in restaurants and in our roads, majority of people of our country can feel and see racial prejudices perpetrated against them. In bars, in hotels, in game parks, and many other public spaces. This stubborn nature of racism and its manifestation persists, notwithstanding that apartheid was repealed from our statutes. Madam Chairperson, cannot be allowed in a democratic country like South Africa. It constitutes a blight of our collective dignity. The inauguration of Madiba marked not only the liberation of our country from racist tyranny, but triumph of aspiration of our continent for its total emancipation. That inauguration, Honorable Chairperson, symbolizes a break from a terrible past characterized by racist oppression and racial policies. It was therefore a moment of joy when Security Council adopted Resolution 930 of 1994 on the 27th of June 1994, which removed, and I quote, the question of South Africa from the list of matters which that council was seized with. Almost 3 months later, on the 3rd of October 1994, President Mandela addressed 49th session of UN General Assembly and had this to say, and I quote, "It surely must be one of the greatest ironies of our age that this assembly is being addressed for the first time in its 49 years of history by South African head of state drawn from amongst African majority of what is an African country." Madiba remarked that the United Nations was born out of titanic struggle against Nazism, fascism, with their pernicious doctrines and practices of racial superiority and genocide. It is therefore could not stand by while South African similar system was being established by a government which also had a temerity to calm representation within the United Nations. This was a very Madiba who stood at the dock in 1964, having spent half of a century of his life fighting against racism. The very man who proclaimed his dedication for fighting against white domination, including black domination. The very Madiba who called upon all of us to ensure that color, race, gender only become a God-given gift to each one of us and not an indelible mark or attribute that accords special status to any. Bakhona ababhagisa umkhitha welizwe lethu silithanda. Banyothule ngolunya intembeko yobuzwe nokuxabisana. Most people, when asked about their race prejudices, they simply say it is a matter of personal likes and dislikes. Some people like one kind of people and some others, similar to their preferences for one sort of food over another. The difficult, however, Madam Chairperson, is that human antipathies between people seldom remain at the cooperative, harmless stage. The preference, W.E.B. Du Bois tells us, and I quote, vitality and warmth, the value of importance that makes us not satisfied to indulge our likes and dislikes, but wish to force them to our neighbors. And to this end, we are nearly always driven. We think we are driven to use 3 weapons of offense, which are tremendous important in the world history. And these personal insults, persecutions, as well as repressions. We forcibly keep certain people from occupying certain positions or entering certain careers. There are times in our country, Madam Chairperson, you will remember when students could not study anymore or anywhere they choose because of the color of their skin. There was a time in our country where black people were forbidden from using certain public amenities. They could not go and jog in the parks of their choice. Beaches in Port Elizabeth were still segregated along these racial lines. And I think we fought for that change, and that change have been bequeathed to us. Men and women of such stature as Boutros Ghali, Aluf Palm, Trevor Haldenstein, Oliver Tambo, Ernest Ilinga, Franz Barth fought against such racial prejudices to the end of their lives. Today, we have Kagiso Rabada in Proteus, when black young men used to be banished to our jails and detention centers. Today, we have Anazo Jobodwana, when young women such as Nomkhosi Mini, a young man such as Solomon Mahlangu, were hanged at the gallows In closing, Chairperson, we must ensure that we do not forget Madiba's teaching that our watchwords must be justice, peace, reconciliation, and nation building in pursuit of democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous country. It was Madiba's prayer and the African National Congress that in all that we do, we have to ensure that we heal our wounds inflicted on all our people by racial monstrosities. We have a solid, stable country, great people endowed with the most precious mineral resources. We are resilient, creative, and resourceful, as Minister Gordon reminded us yesterday. If we are true to our commitment to protect human dignity as enshrined in our 20 years of old Constitution, we have to fight hard and defeat the demon of racism. Madam Chairperson, since that day Madiba became our president, we found our voice as Africans. We gained our places as full partners in the work of United Nations. We hosted the World Congress Against Racism in Durban in South Africa in 2001, and we must criminalize acts of racism and institutions that perpetuate racism. Similarly, with apartheid, which was regarded as a crime against humanity, let us criminalize racism. Let us mobilize all peace-loving South Africans to say no to racism. Let us deal with racism and racial prejudices still prevalent in our own institutions of higher learning. Let us deal with racial prejudices in judiciary, and let us deal with racial prejudices in private sector. Let us deal with racial prejudices and patterns in the economic deprivation so that patterns of ownership can still resemble the popularity and the populace of this country. Thank you very much. We still see others wanting to see Orania returning back, and I think we cannot afford to lose our guard.
Honorable Hattem.
Really pushing it, and he's got some time. Will he take a question?
His time has expired.
Yes.
Thank you. Then
Thank you very much.
Like to put a question.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I was done.
The Honorable, the MEC for Finance, Honorable Rockman.
Honorable Chair.
Honorable Hattem, are you on a point of order?
No. He said he will take a question, Honorable Chairperson.
His time was expired, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable members, Honorable Rockman is on the podium.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, honorable members, there are moments in the life of our collective society that forces us to pause, that compels us to look up from the busyness of our own lives and to shed the cloak of comfort that we wear, believing that we are on the road to developing and building a truly South African identity. Those could be the blatant racist comments of individuals gone viral on social media, or the subtlety of the nuanced language play that underscores the insidious and far more dangerous nature of embedded racism in our society. The recent chain of racist instances and incidents have forced us to acknowledge that we need to take stock of the advances that we have made in building the South African identity we envisioned. We have truly become wary of the notion that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white, as proclaimed with such abundant hope on a cold winter's day in Kliptown in 1955. Would it not advance our efforts to build this nation if we equally emphasize that the people also stated on that same day in the same declaration that our country shall never be free until all our people live in brotherhood, enjoying equal rights and opportunities, and continue to proclaim that peace and friendship amongst all our people shall be secured by upholding the equal rights, opportunities, and status for all. Today, South Africans of all walks of life can talk eloquently about the Bill of Rights and their individual and collective rights as citizens. But we talk with much less confidence and enthusiasm when we have to talk about equal opportunities. As the oppressive legislative and regulatory framework of apartheid intensified, the people at Kliptown recognized that equal rights without equal opportunities would be empty, and therefore rightly placed emphasis on both concepts. There is an undeniable correlation between race and socioeconomic relations in our country. At the heart of the turmoil at many of our institutions of higher learning
is exactly the disparity that exists between equal rights and equal opportunity. And it is a reflection of the structural relations between color and economic privilege. Speaking at Georgetown University on January 27, 1987, the late ANC President Oliver Tambo said, "It is our responsibility to break down barriers of division and create a country where there will be neither whites nor blacks, just South Africans, free and united in diversity." Honorable Chair, that is the core of the individual and collective responsibility of each and every one of our citizens who share the vision of a South Africa united in its diversity. The strength of our nation does not lie in merely promoting a culture of tolerance for diversity, but in recognizing, respecting, and celebrating that diversity. Prejudice indeed is the child of ignorance. Creating and practicing a culture of respect for diversity will not happen by accident. It requires a conscious decision to take a stand and to speak out.
Honorable Rockman, please take a seat. Honorable Smith, are you on a point of order?
Yes, Honorable. I want to hear if the Honorable member will take a question after she signed one of the pledges, if she can be the first one to sign the pledge today.
Honorable Rockman, what is your response?
The honorable member should not waste my time.
She is not prepared, sir.
It
Continue,
requires,
Honorable Member.
Thank you, Chair. It requires a conscious decision to take a stand and to speak out against all forms of racism and prejudice. Recent events should have emphasized to us that there is no room for neutrality in the fight against racism and prejudice, Honorable Member Smith. Former Archbishop Desmond Tutu illustrated it perfectly when he said, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." And so it is with racism and prejudice. Each time you choose silence over the discomfort of speaking out, you choose racism. Each time you fail to reverse prejudice, you perpetuate it. The failure to speak and act against racism and prejudice allows the further entrenchments of a subculture that has no space in our society. We need to challenge our own beliefs and perspectives on racism and prejudice. I would dare to say that the majority of white South Africans disregard the concept of white privilege. But then I would want to encourage them to go read the essay by Macy Domingo, 18 Things White People Seem to Not Understand, and contextualize that to South Africa. Allow me, Honorable Chair, to cite a few examples of what the author describes as the invisibility of the privileges you have that continue to help maintain white supremacy. And she lists some that I have contextualized and paraphrased. White privilege is never being told to get over apartheid. White privilege is arrogantly believing that reverse racism actually exists. White privilege is having the prevalence and importance of the English language and finding amusement in ridiculing others for their accents and difficulty in speaking a language that is not their native tongue. White privilege is not having your name turned into an easier-to-say Anglo-Saxon name. White privilege is having your words and actions attributed to you as an individual rather than have them reflect members of your race. White privilege is being able to fight racism one day, then ignore it the next. White privilege is being able to be articulate and well-spoken without people being surprised. White privilege is being able to ignore the consequence of race. Honorable Chair, this is our reality. We need to engage openly and frankly in a continuous dialogue and debate that will challenge our comfort zones. There is no avoiding this dialogue, as racism did not self-destruct in 1994. We have seen moments in which South Africans truly united in the joy and pride of major sport achievements, as well as the sorrow of the passing of one of our greatest statesmen. Our challenge is to continue building and weaving those moments into a uniquely South African culture and value system that truly celebrates our unity in diversity. The sabotage of this effort through racism and prejudice is indeed a crime and should be legislated as such. The Free State Provincial Government's initiatives to promote social cohesion have been evident from our provincial bursary program, our human settled developments, and our employment practices, to mention but a few. We take pride in the fact that we actually practice what we preach. I am confident that the African National Congress will continue to lead and inspire the momentum needed to succeed in cultivating nation building and promoting social cohesion in our beloved country. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Kaula.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister Kigaba, Honorable Minister Masuta, the Inkatha Freedom Party was founded on the values and principles of Ubuntu, Butu, I am because of others, Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, Mutu ki muntu kabatu, non-racialism, freedom, unity and diversity, amongst others. From a young age, as a member of the ANC Youth League in Fort Hare, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has always believed on a matter of principle, dissociated from race, gender, or color in a cause for freedom and liberty. At the height of the idealism of separate development in the 1980s, Prince Buthelezi established a Buthelezi Commission, which culminated into what became known as the KwaZulu-Natal Indaba. The recommendations of the KwaZulu-Natal Indaba brought together at local level engagement of how what was known as black areas then could be co-governed with what was known as white areas in the former KwaZulu and former Natal respectively. These resulted in the Joint Services Boards, JSBs, all over KwaZulu-Natal pre-1994. The major objective was to showcase that blacks and whites could defy the Group Areas Act stipulations, coexist and co-govern without all hell breaking loose. It is the former JSBs that got turned into the regional councils in KwaZulu-Natal, the first post-1994 local government district structure elected for the rural areas as a transition phase. The regional councils culminated into the district councils with the first local government elections on the 5th of December 2000 in South Africa. The advent of democracy in 1994 in South Africa brought with it new challenges which are still confronting us even today. South Africa opened up to globalization, which surfaced with its own challenges. However, in every unification of a previously disjointed nation, if pluralism in diversity is seen as a source of strength, the nation can become more strong, more prosperous, and more stable. The institutional framework of apartheid patterns was so entrenched in our communities that to repair the damage of that legacy needs patience and time. With the advent of democracy in 1994, we all come together in a new arrangement, each with their own beliefs, tradition, and culture. Pluralism need not be a threat, sometimes even to each other in our communities. On several occasions in this House, I have appealed to the Department of Arts and Culture to help in the creation of a unified South African identity that we can all be proud of. And I repeat, why is it that on South African National Days, we do not see South Africans rejoicing together as unity in diversity, but we see different groupings doing things separately, each to their own individual corners? This unnecessary divide sometimes extends even to our behavior patterns in relation to our brothers and sisters in the continent. When somebody is black and non-South African, they are subjected to xenophobic challenges. When somebody is white and non-South African, they are treated as tourists. This is an apartheid legacy mindset which has become a reality that we have to deal with. We need to teach and instill the values of mutual respect, tolerance, and dialogue. We have to allay and combat the fears of those who still feel threatened. Intolerance and extremism does not have a place in this and space in the new South Africa. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Morena. The Honorable Mohapi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, Honorable Chief Whip, Honorable Ministers, MECs present here today, Honorable members of the NCOP, ladies and gentlemen, in particular, our youth in the gallery, who are the aspiring future of this country. Honorable Smith, perhaps I must start with you. It's too late for you to come and claim Tata Madiba. when you are quick to forget that you are the very same person who's from your forebears who incarcerated Tata Madiba for 27 years for one simple thing, fighting racism. The declaration that you came up with, it's really unfortunate.
Honorable Mohapi, Honorable Smith.
Honorable Chairperson, the Honorable Speaker is pronouncing things on me that is absolutely not true, and he is misleading not only the House but South Africans. I was 14 years old in 1994, sir.
Thank you. I will let it go. We'll let it go as a point in debate.
Chairperson, thank you very much. Perhaps you are still young, but your forefathers were still there. I must also indicate, even the pledge that you are coming up, we know you are very much opportunistic. The elections are up ahead. You want to fool our people, and let me tell you, today you can never fool our blacks forever. Honorable Chairperson, allow me to pass my heartfelt condolences to the families of Honorable S. Mohai and Honorable Nyambi, who both lost their mothers in the past days. Allow me also to take this opportunity to congratulate the Minister, Pravin Gordon's budget speech, as it will crystallize the plans identified in the ANC Lekgotla. Chairperson, the National Democratic Revolution refers to the task of nation building, consolidating of a single collective South Africa, dispelling of narrow ethnic, tribal and racial nations. Racism, Honorable Smith, therefore, serves as an ideological weapon for imperialism. In this regard, Honorable Chair, we should fight against the manifestation of racism, super exploitation, patriarchy, ethnic chauvinism, religious and political intolerance. The National Development Plan offers a long-term perspective. It defines a desired destination and identifies the role different sectors of society need to play in reaching that goal. Our Constitution, Honorable Chair, lays the basis for the construction of a democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, united and prosperous society based on justice, equality, the rule of law, and the inalienation human rights for all. We must never forget that our democratic birth was rightly hailed as a miracle. Doomsayers like DA and those who wanted us to fail had predicted chaos. However, Honorable Chair, none of these things came to pass, and the values of democracy and freedom of our birth still endure today. South Africa has abandoned its shameful past and has steadily moved towards building a new culture based on respect of human rights and dignity. Although challenges remain like racism, there are more things that unite us as South Africans that push us apart. As a collective, we should all take pride in what we have achieved as a nation and push ahead. As we together continue to build on the progress we have made, we must continue to break down barriers which divide us. Discrimination became the norm when past documents were used to restrict the movement of blacks. Discrimination is just an insult to our most basic notions of fairness. It also costs us money, because those who are discriminated against are unable to make the best use of the talents. This not only hurts them, but it hurts most of us as the ANC, as some of our best and brightest players are, in essence, sidelined, unable to make their full contributions to our economy, while not surrendering to a crude materialism. I have long been telling folks that racism and sexism's greatest social evil is how it generates a net loss on the economic and material productivity of South Africa. This economic inefficiency has a direct impact, both positively and negatively, on the life chances of South Africans, hence the land issue. Wealth and income inequality can also be traced to such bad behavior as discrimination in all its forms. Moral appeals are great, but appeals to more economic growth and shared uplift are, to my eyes, even more compelling reasons to confronting both day-to-day as well as structural racism and sexism. In South Africa, affirmative action, as viewed through the lens of its most pernicious by contemporary conservatives, has truly been white and male for centuries. That's a great contradiction. The white grievances politics of right.
Please take your seat. Honorable Shibukwan. You are on your...
Mukwena, Honorable Chairperson, I'm not Mukwena.
No, I said Sibukwan.
Oh. Thank you, Chairperson. Would the gentleman, Honorable Mohapi, be so grateful to take a question from me?
Honorable Mhapi, will you take a question?
Please,
Can I provide leadership? We can meet outside, Mama.
He is not willing, ma'am.
In South Africa, affirmative action as viewed through the lens of its most pernicious by contemporary conservatives has truly been white and male for centuries. That's a great contradiction. The white grievance politics of right are prefaced upon a sense of white disadvantage. The insecurity felt by many whites is a direct response to a sense that they are losing the most in today's economy. However, many on the right are ideologically driven to deny the empirical fact that racism against blacks exists, profoundly impacts our life chances, even in the age of our hands and democracy. There's a deep sense that the unearned privileges that come with being white or male in some South African society are being stolen away by the undeserving blacks and women. Chairperson, South Africa has always been a white supremacy that masquerades as legitimate. For some white racists, those are fighting words. How dare anyone cast aspersions on the motives of our founding forefathers? What a shame. This is simply a statement of fact. We can have democracy in South Africa, but first we have a debunk white supremacy. Science tells us that all humans are equal. Some white racists don't like it, but the scientific truth is inescapable. Chairperson, the logic of good whites versus bad blacks and how the long arc of justice inevitably bends through is compelling and beautiful. In appealing to the hearts, the hope is that the mind and the body politic will inevitably be moved in the direction of the common good and towards a set of towards thinking and evolved pieces of legislation. Chairperson, to believe that South Africa is post-racial requires an almost incomprehensible inability or unwillingness to stare truth in the face. How can we be post-racial, after all, when the typical white family has 20 times the net worth of a typical black family? How can we be post-racial when blacks with degrees are anywhere from 1/3 from likely to nearly twice as likely to be unemployed as their white counterparts? How can we be post-racial when largest portion of land still remains in the hands of the white supremacy? In simpler terms, white denial syndrome. How can we be post-racial when we still have incidents where 4 white farmers in the Free State brutally murdered 2 blacks in the BC Spread in Paris in the Free State? How can we be post-racial when the DA still uses blacks as the rent a vote? How can we be? Shame on you.
Honorable Esak, you are on your feet.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'd like through you to find out if an angry gentleman will take a question, please. Honorable Mohai, Honorable Mohai.
Honorable Mohai, will you take a question?
Not from a negligent member, Chairperson. How can?
Please, can I hear your response?
I was saying not from a negligent honorable member, Chairperson.
No. I think, Honorable Mohapi, I don't know where the negligence comes in.
Chairperson, he started saying, can I ask the negligent member a question?
No, he didn't say that, Honorable Mohapi. He said an angry member. I looked at him, he withdrew that.
I withdraw, Honorable Chairperson. I don't take a question.
Honorable Esak, he is not willing to take a question.
I'm not angry.
I know you are not angry, please.
How can we be post-racial when we blacks are regarded as monkeys by the DA? Yet they think the next 2016 local government election, black monkeys will go out and vote, racist DA. No. Anyege we born. Enough is enough. Chairperson, indeed, we cannot be post-racial for as long as reckless and irresponsible conduct of both parliamentarian leaders of the Freedom Fight and the Freedom Front Plus and the EFF, Corne Belder and Julius Malema, threatened to incite public violence. Both leaders took to Twitter, calling on their supporters to crush each other.
Honorable Mohapi, please take your seat. Honorable Mokoena, I'll recognize you later, ma'am. Honorable Mokoena.
Sorry.
Order. Honorable Mokoena, you are on the floor.
Okay, the Honorable Mohapi there is being disrespectful. It is the CIC, the president, of the EFF, the Honorable Julius Sello Malema. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. In this house, it will be the Honorable Malema. Honorable Engelbrecht, in this house, it will be the Honorable Malema. That is how all members of parliament are recognized. Please take your seat, Honorable Mkwena. Honorable Engelbrecht.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. Can we ask the Honourable Mohapi to withdraw the comment that black people are monkeys?
Honorable Mohapi, did you say black people are monkeys?
Chairperson, I said it was alleged in the media that blacks are monkeys. It's a point for debate.
Honorable Engelbrecht. He says he said alleged. May I order members? Order. I want to look at Hansard and see exactly what the Honorable Mohapi said and come and rule on this matter. Please grant me that. Honorable Mtileni, on your point of order, please take your seat, Honorable Mohapi.
The point of
Honorable
order,
Mtileni.
the point of order, Chair, is that are you correcting Honorable Mohapi to say Honorable Malema? Are you correcting him to say Honorable Malema?
I did. I said in this house, Honorable Malema is Honorable Malema.
Has he apologized to say Julius Malema?
In this house,
Chairperson.
Honorable Mohapi, Honorable Malema is Honorable Malema.
Can you ask him to read again that sentence and
He
correct
will when
himself?
he stands.
Yes, let him read again that sentence and say Honorable Julius Malema. I think that it's correct that way.
Honorable Mtileni, you are pushing it. Because honorable members must also not be reduced or be treated like little children in this house. I have made a point that Honorable Mohapi must acknowledge Honorable Malema as Honorable Malema in this house. No, there is no question about it. Take your seat. Please take your seat. I have ruled on the matter. Take your seat. I have ruled on the matter. Honorable Malema will be referred to as Honorable Malema in this house. Honorable Mateis, please take your seat. Please take your seat. Take your seat. Take your seat. Honorable Mtileni, take your seat. Honorable Mateis, I recognized you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Can the Honourable
Order.
Member, he must give a substantial motion, Chairperson, if he's going to say that our Commander-in-Chief of the Economic Freedom Fighters is enticing violence. Yes. He must withdraw. Yes. Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Mohapi, did you say the Honorable Malema is, what did you say, ma'am? Inciting violence.
Chairperson, can I clarify my point? This is on the basis of a Twitter it's on the basis of a Twitter of Honorable Sello Malema.
Honorable Mohapi, did you say that the Honorable Sello Malema is?
Yes, I said, Chairperson, based on the Twitter.
Then you withdraw or you do what the honorable member says, because the allegation is very serious. Then we would have to get the facts.
It's fine, Chairperson. I will make a submission of a motion for debate. Chairperson.
That will be done. Honorable, Honorable Mkwena, it is a different point of order.
It's a tweak of an order. There's always a ruling when somebody is called a thief in this house, when they say or a liar. I think it's only fair that the Honorable Mohapi withdraws that statement because of the serious nature that you referred to. That he must withdraw because it's almost
You are on the point of order that says he said that Honorable Malema incites violence.
I'm saying he must withdraw instead of correcting or whatever he said that you said he must do.
Honorable members, I have
because it's equivalent to treason. It's not correct.
Order, members, order.
He's accusing the CIC of treason.
Honorable members, order, order. I have made a ruling that this honorable member, Mohapi, must make a substantive motion because of the way the Honorable Mateis coached her point of order. I said to Honorable Mohapi, withdraw or bring a substantive order. He says he will bring a substantive order. And I think we must let that matter stand. Honorable Mateis.
Point is on consistency. There was one time I did a motion here in this house, and I said that the parliamentary leaders were trigger happy after what happened outside. And you said, it's a very serious allegation, I must withdraw. I said, I'm quite happy to do a substantial motion. You insisted and you kicked me out of the house. Right there, I had high heel shoes on and everything. This is also very, it's not funny. It's not funny, Chair. I was escorted out, and this is very serious. So he must withdraw or he must give the substantial motion while he's saying that. Not some Twitter thing that is taken out of context. He doesn't even know if that account is even certified. So either he must withdraw or he
Honorable members, Honorable Mohapi. No, give me the chance. Honorable members, we do not want to get stuck on a very serious debate on this matter. Honorable Mohapi, withdraw.
Chairperson, because you are providing leadership, I withdraw.
No, I don't want any clapping. I'm not taking any fed. I am not taking you. I have said the member must withdraw. The member has withdrawn. Please continue, Honorable Mohad.
Chairperson, thank you very much. As the ANC asserted racial wars and racial tensions do not in any way bring us closer to the type of society we need to collectively build. There are many ways of addressing genuine student challenges without resorting to unbecoming behavior. Chairperson, it will not be easy, but I'm convinced that if we can find some way to remove this monster of remnants of white supremacy, yes, we can bring an end to white supremacy and racism in our country. If we terminate white supremacy, we can also, by extension, terminate the racism and other inequalities that emanate from white supremacy. Honorable Chairperson, our history as ANC of non-racial struggle over 100 years is what gives us confidence that we will be able to lead South Africa from the nightmare of its past to a future of unity in a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, united and prosperous South Africa. The ANC is fundamentally committed to continuing its traditions of non-racial unity in action. Lastly, Honorable Chairperson, allow me to conclude by commending good South Africans who are standing firm across the caliber in condemning racism and all its forms. Allow me to further attest to it by saluting Mr. Mike Hampton, a community activist from a DA-led national municipality in Western Cape, and an attorney, Ms. S. Campbell, our white counterparts, who revealed alleged corruption and maladministration worth millions of rands in a DA-led national local municipality without looking at a color. Indeed, corruption does not know any color. Let me conclude, Chairperson, by reaffirming what the ANC said in 1955, that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white. Uzoithola kanjani uhlele khonile.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable Mukosi.
Ke a leboga modulasetilo motlhomphegi, Honorable Modise. Honorable Chair, today we are dealing directly with the failures and compromises made on our behalf by the ANC during the negotiations for the end of apartheid. The ANC agreed on our behalf without our consent to let decades of black people's blood, sweat, and tears shed forcefully by a predatory, evil white regime which took our land, killed our people, and robbed us of our human dignity. When the ANC agreed to let whites keep all their apartheid and colonial loot and coined fickle terms such as rainbow nation, they were essentially cooking a pot of racial hatred that was to eventually blow up in their faces and in the faces of all of us. The agreement to prioritize reconciliation and not justice is what has led our nation to be where it is now.
Please take your seat. Honorable Wana. Honorable Wana, you are on the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Through you, can the Speaker take a question?
Honorable Mukhosi, do you wish to take a question? She is not willing, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Mukhosi, continue.
The agreement to let whites keep all the land they had stolen and for blacks to be confined to rat-infested squatter camps is what has led to sporadic outbreaks of racial violence in this country. You see, what matters to black people is not so much what Penny Sparrow said when she said we are monkeys. It's not what Cola Bernard of the DA said about missing Paul Kruger. It's not about what Richard Spoor said about the incapacity of black lawyers. What matters the most are the institutional and material factors that make it possible for all these despicable individuals to say and do what they say and do to black people. White people have the power to insult black people and the power to condemn them. They have this power because they still own 79% of our land. They have this power because they still own 90% of our economy. They have this power because they still earn 6 times more than black people. 22 years after the so-called freedom. They have the power to insult and have the power to condemn. That's what racism is all about. Mere insults do not constitute racism. It is insults and condemnation that makes racism complete in South Africa. The resolution to this problem lies in the taking of that which gives white people to condemn black people into perpetual slavery. The solution lies in ensuring that whites are made to feel that they are not superior, but human too. And this can only be done through taking that which they stole, our land and all that belongs to it. Lona matukwane awa, lone makhona tsotlhe budiskana metsewa tsotlhe ra di batla mo lehatsheng leo. In this process, we know that we will have Uncle Tom, such as Vice Chancellor of the University of Free State, who is only too quick to condemn with his words black people, but has said and done nothing to condemn the actions of white students and their parents at that university, who considered on black protesters like a pack of wolves. We know that we will have people like AfriForum and the FF+, whose sole interest is to protect proceeds of white crime. But we must be resolute in this fight to end racism, and we must guard against the tendency to make victims perpetrators and to make perpetrator victims. White people must not cry foul. English is not my mother tongue, I don't care. White people must not cry foul. The racism we now see is as a result of their actions and the actions of those who came before them. We can never have racial harmony in this country while whites have refused to give back what they have stolen. We will only have racial harmony once we receive economic freedom in our lifetime. Kitse motsotso wa ka o setseng kere ke ise matshedišo ko go ba Rangongwane family re latlhegetswe ke membera ya national komisane Dumisane Ngongwane ko Mpumalanga province ke re family ya Rangongwane tshidisegang. Ke a leboga Chairperson.
Ke a leboga. The Honorable Manopole.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you. Let me recognize Honorable Ministers Gigaba, Honorable Masuta, MECs present, members of the NCOP and special delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Ha ke tsa motswetswe ke simolola ke re mo Honorable Mokgotsi wa ko Motlharo ke re mo go ene as African National Congress o kopo nthetse o retse se ke tla go se buang o se retse sentle. We are prudent of our past confident of our future. As African National Congress, against this backdrop, let me paraphrase the quote of our glorious movement.
Honorable Manopole, there's a point of order. Please take your seat. Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Is it parliamentary to call an honorable member she is lying? That is what was said by Honorable Mkweli.
Honorable who? Mukhosi or Mukweli. Honorable Mukweli, did you say Honorable Manopole is lying?
Nyamanga si rialo ke tlotla mmeo. Ke mo tlotla ka pelo ya ka yo yotlhe.
Honorable Dlamini, if it was on the mic, but I will still try, I will find it and then I will come and rule. Honorable Mukweli, it is a very serious matter, ma'am, to mislead or in fact to use your words to lie to the House. It is better if you have said so to acknowledge and to withdraw. Don't make yourself an accessory, please. Honorable Mukweli, did you or did you not say the honorable member is lying?
Mama Thandi, ngasi ake mo ntlong ye. Ga ke sebe ke bui yalo. Gotlhe.
Honorable members, I can only at this stage say I will check the Hansard. If I can find anything, I will come back to the House. That's all I can take it. Honorable Mukwena, what are you rising on?
Chair, I'm standing on a point of order. There needs to be some kind of fairness here. The honorable member of the EFF was asked a question if she uttered those words. She said no. She's then asked for the second time. It sounds like she's being coerced to agree that she said those words that the honorable said. Can we have some, she already said no. Can we have fairness and just agree like we do with everybody else when she said it first time? Thank you very much.
I have no problem in repeating it with everybody else. I went back to the honorable member because Honorable Dlamini insisted that she had her say so. And it was to give her the chance, if indeed it was so, before we waste valuable time to go on to the record. And I'm going to let this matter rest there. I try in this House to be as fair as I can. So I do not wish members to do what Honorable Mkwena is doing. Honorable Manopole, please continue.
We are prudent of our past, confident of the future. As African National Congress, against this backdrop, let me paraphrase the quote of our glorious movement visionary leader, O.R. Tambo. As said, as never before, we need to move arms in arms with all our allies, friends, and citizens. We need to close ranks as South Africans, now than never before, to wage war on bedeviled phenomenon of racism and sexism in this democratic dispensation in order to wage intensive struggle with reinforced vigor towards racism. The current spat of racism in our beloved country, South Africa, calls on all of us collectively through our efforts to eradicate this scourge, now beginning to sow its ugly heads in our seashores, the length and breadth of our country, in a manner that seeks to reverse the gains of our freedom and emancipation from the yoke of oppression of other racial prejudice, attempting to take us back such undesirable past which we must all despise. African National Congress has fought racial oppression during apartheid collectively with the progressive forces. We were aware of the mammoth task ahead of us. That's why when we preparing to govern, we developed a paper which outlined immediate tasks confronting us and the basic principles as contained in our Ready to Govern document. I quote, "Our task now is to rally all South Africans, patriots around which we have always stood for, namely equality, mutual respect, dignity, and promote basic human rights. We want our country that's unified, open, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and free. Derived from African National Congress shared values and vision informed by following principles: Ubuntu, human rights, non-racialism, non-tribalism, and non-sexism, redress, transformation, intercultural and community cooperation, and unity in diversity. The challenge of dealing with advancing our collective efforts in fighting against racism and sexism is a duty of every South African citizen, in all our institutions and civil society structures. Together, we need to join hands in building a united, non-racial, and non-sexist South Africa. All hands on a deck towards the full realization of our common destiny, bound together by the Constitution of the democratic state. The fight against racism is the duty of every South African service delivery pattern that are still nostalgic on old apartheid regime should be completely wiped out. Given the present-day transformating trajectory, South Africa as a constitutional democratic state can no longer afford to dwell in such regressive politics bent on reversing our historic political gains so cherished by many countries across the globe. A rapid changes and unprecedented development of service delivery achievement witnessed under the leadership and government led by ANC. Our effort would encourage all of us recognizing fully of our country where it is supposed to have been before the apartheid era. What the ANC has done in bringing about present-day South Africa with innovative style of social, political, economic changes will go down in the annals of our history, political struggle for freedom and emancipation as an irrevocable mark. Alone, we cannot achieve all this noble agenda unless we work together with all organs of state, public, private institutions, organs of civil society combined. In order to make a valuable aiding and positive impact, the ANC-led government has worked very hard to put mechanisms in place with policies, legislation to eradicate and eliminate any forms of racism and sexism which was institutionalized in the previous regime of apartheid, which were seen in the workplace and societal norm. The life of those policies can only be seen in a collective effort. Those who are sexist bias perpetuate patriarchy by chauvinism behavioral attitude. To make it even worse, coupled with racial culture, which was experienced and been attested by above statement by none by former DA parliamentary leader, when she wrote frankly about the state of internal racism within the DA. She said, Honorable Maimane has put a bold challenge to South African people. The challenge should be mirrored within the organization he leads. Close quote. Simply putting that, she was saying that charity begins at home. Do we hear that? DA are beneficiaries of white privilege and institutional supremacy complexes. Mazubuko further mentioned that the brain trust, which is of the organization, attempt of the DA spokesperson, Honorable Van Dam, badly and wrongly wanted to twist the words of Mazubuko by saying almost exclusive dominance of white males within the party. DA should have been bold enough to deal with the denialism of white male privilege.
Honorable Manopole, there is a point of order. Please take your seat. Honorable Essa.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you. I'd just like to know, with your permission, if this honorable member will take a dignified question. Thank you.
Honorable Manopole, will you take a question?
No, Chair. Yeah,
He says no, sir.
The DA should be bold enough to deal with the denialism, to write male privilege.
Honorable Manopole, you said something which Honorable Essak did not hear.
I want to know.
I'm saying I hit hard, where I hit, it hurts. It hurts where I hit. Where I hit.
It simply means that the honorable member says you are standing to ask a question because she said something which is hurting you. It's a phrase. Okay,
Honorable.
Honorable.
Explain.
Okay, Honorable Esak, don't push it. Take your seat.
So, go sa tlhoke gore ke
Honorable Chair, I
interprete.
withdraw with diligence.
I know, with diligence.
The
Honorable
white
Manopole.
male's privilege within the party before going out calling South African for collective efforts of advancement of confronting racism and sexism, which exists in the lives within the party ranks, we can see here in Parliament, in NSOP and NA chambers. This is lily lily white males. You can see there are only two Africans and the rest are white male. Therefore, making a clear call to advancement of our efforts and reaffirm
Honorable
underlying
Manopole,
commitment.
Honorable Mpambo Sibukweni, I'll recognize you first.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Yes, ma'am.
I need your ruling in the racist statement that has been uttered by Honorable Manopole.
I will sustain your point.
Singling out, promoting racism when he's dealing with racism at the expense, and I'm shocked because Your Excellency, Honorable Gedlehleki Sazuma, was even mentioning that there should be unity. I thought the ANC is under that impression. I need your ruling, Chairperson. Please rule.
Honorable, please take your seat, ma'am. I will rule. Honorable Esak, is it the same?
Honorable Chair, at this point in time, it's really not even worthwhile.
Thank you very much. Honorable Manopole, I have in the past said all political parties have the right to replace or to replenish their lists as they so wish, without us interpreting race or whatever in it. That was my ruling the last time. Therefore, the DA having all males or all females, or the ANC having all black males, is neither here nor there for us, because also remember, honorable members, sometimes what you think, Ntebe, honorable, I am speaking. Remember, honorable members, that what you do and think is only between and amongst yourselves in this house actually has a bearing on how the public perceives you and this house. This house is debating a very important topic, and it is about doing away with racism and racial tensions which are beginning to swallow us in this country. And I thought that in this debate, we will all come together and say this is wrong and this is how we are correcting it. Honorable Manopole, please proceed without interfering with how parties arrive at their membership.
I'll do that, Chair. With clarion call that I make to the DA to ensure that as they go out and want to black votes, but they might make sure also that think about their representation here in Parliament. That's why if I want to put that in context, why I raised the issue of representation of the DA here in Parliament, because it's not the true reflection of what they have going out and preaching. Therefore, make a clear call on advancement and the effort to reaffirm unyielding commitment to pursue uninterrupted struggle against racism and sexism. Hence, the National Democratic Revolution are dialectical interconnection and determined in epoch of democratic society, moving forward towards effective collectivism in fighting against racism in our society. We have to strive towards working for democratic, non-racial future that binds us all and the true citizen, working together to achieve synergy, integration, cooperative and governance and collaboration. The campaign against racism should be practical effort, part of our daily life living, implementing across all sectors in societal life. In a similar way, we also did effectively liberating our country negotiation period, which we serve as a reminder for us, which we are proud of. Honorable Mohosi, we are not apologetic about that. The negotiations that we have gone through, the process of achieving the constitution, which is well respected around the world. As we forge accelerated and sustainable change through interactive, intensive structural program. We should always remember that we are seeking to achieve prosperous democratic South Africa. Together, moving non-racial, non-sexist, united democratic South Africa forward.
The Honorable, the MEC for Cultural Affairs and Sports in the Western Cape, Honorable Murray. Order.
Honorable Chairperson, in a time when our nation requires much social inclusion, healing and redressing, I thank you for the opportunity to participate in this significant debate. Dis hoogtyd dat ons konstruktief gesprekke voer oor maniere waarop ons kollektiewe pogings om 'n verenigde, nie rassistiese, nie seksistiese en demokratiese Suid-Afrika te bou kan bevorder. Nog iets wat al lankal moes gebeur het, is die implementering van die konstruktiewe dialoog wat oor die afgelope 22 jaar van ons demokrasie plaasgevind het. Die Wes-Kaapse regering het beduidende vordering gemaak in hulle bydrae tot die maatskaplike deelname van almal om 'n verenigde demokratiese provinsie en Suid-Afrika as 'n geheel te bou. Alhoewel die politieke landskap na die eerste demokratiese verkiesing in 1994 verander het, was en is daar steeds baie problematiese gemeenskapskwessies en uitdagings in ons gemeenskappe. Honorable Chair, in the Western Cape, we embed governance and integrated service delivery on the values of reconciliation, redress, diversity, and delivery. It is a responsibility of all South Africans, especially those in leadership roles, to reconcile our painful past, redress its subsequent inequalities, celebrate our diversity, and deliver on a socially inclusive society. Honourable, in my experience as a Minister of Cultural Affairs and Sport, I've gained a better insight into the diversity of the Western Cape. While many are of the opinion that our diversity, that being different culture backgrounds, beliefs, traditions, mother tongues, socio-economic status, and even political affiliations, is what sets us apart and divides us as a collective nation, I am of the view that our beauty lies in our diversity. There is more that we have in common than that sets us apart, and the sooner we all realize this, the better. We need to get to a point where we understand and tolerate each other regardless of our differences. We need to get to a point where we celebrate our diversity and together work towards a socially inclusive nation, and there is no such time as this. Through my department, I am reminded time and again that sport and cultural affairs encourage repentance, reconciliation, restoration, restitution, and revival. The more I engage with the department and witness its outcomes on the ground, the more I am convinced that the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport is an essential one. I say this because we are a department that functions purely to make a positive change in the lives of Western Cape residents. Whether it be sport or cultural affairs, our department offers and delivers services which afford our province the opportunity to escape the cycles of poverty that thrive in our communities. Our department makes a significant difference in bringing about positive change to our communities. We improve the self-esteem of our youth and identify in them talents they would otherwise not explore. We enable a love for reading, history, culture, heritage, and arts, which improves educational outcomes, not only for the youth, but our province as a whole. We open channels of communication so that all in our province is able to access our services irrespective of their mother tongues, because we promote linguistic democracy by elevating the status of all three official languages. Honourable Chair, can any other provincial department honestly attest to this as well? As painful as our history was, I has also taught us time and again that sport and celebrating our diversity play a pivotal role in building a united democratic South Africa. Nelson Mandela once said, Sport can create hope where once there was only despair. It is more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers. It laughs in the face of all types of discrimination. All present here today can vouch for the words of our late great statesman. I call to our memories the 1995 Rugby World Cup, the 2010 Soccer World Cup, performing arts festivals such as the KKNK, productions at the Baxter, Artscape, and the Feelgood. All these experiences brought and continue to bring people together from across various spectrums of society to engage with each other as South Africans, regardless of any socially constructed labels, but as citizens of a united, non-racial, non-sexist and democratic South Africa. Honourable Chair, all the before mentioned is prevalent in the Western Cape, a place Honourable Mmusimani described as where, quote, where we harness the full potential of South African people, because against all odds, ordinary people are doing extraordinary things. I too, like Honourable Maimani and the rest of the DA, can only imagine what they could do if they had a national government that worked for them instead of against them. I call on all participating in this important debate to not only render lip service here today, but to take proactive steps as a DA-led Western Cape government has to legitimately advance our collective efforts to build an united, non-racial, non-sexist and democratic South Africa for all. I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The Honourable Makwel.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister Masuta, Honourable delegates from provincial legislatures, Honourable members, ladies and gentlemen, and in particular our young people in the gallery. When I was your age, I didn't want to come to Parliament because it was an apartheid Parliament. South Africa's history of apartheid and colonialism is characterized by a racial hierarchy and systematic institutionalized conquest of dispossession of the indigenous people of this country. This painful history is directly related to our current challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. While great progress has been made in reversing 3 centuries of colonial marginalization and neglect, there is much that needs to be done to speed up change. The ANC has historically pursued the ideal of non-racialism as a South African reality. It can be done. Let's remind ourselves that the ANC was formed by credible and highly respected African leaders in 2012, following on the political decision by apartheid rulers to exclude the African majority when they established the Union of South Africa, an apartheid state and a white minority. This was a crude expression of racism and racial prejudice. In so doing, racism was institutionalized and subsequently adopted by the policies and actions of certain political parties that are still part of our modern and democratic state. How shameful. Since our formation, the ANC unequivocally stated its objection and hatred of racism, sexism, and racial prejudice. It was no surprise when the ANC's highly respected and world-renowned leader, the ANC's leader, former President Dr. Nelson Mandela, during his treason trial in 1962, pronounced, "I hate discrimination most intensely and in all its manifestations. I have fought it all during my life. I fight it now and will do so until the end of my days." This was his first courtroom statement in 1962. Many of us, contemporary members of the ANC, are today actively engaged and committed to continue the fight against all forms of racism, sexism, and racial prejudice. We build on the victories of the ANC and the legacy of our fearless leaders for the sake of South Africa, this country that we love and lead. The ANC struggle against racism is rooted in the understanding that anti-racism includes beliefs, actions, movements, and policies adopted or developed to oppose racism. In general, anti-racism is intended to promote an egalitarian society in which people do not face discrimination on the basis of their race. However, racism is an ism to which everyone in the world today is exposed, for or against. We must take sides. The ANC takes the side against racism. And the history of the future will also differ according to the decision which we make today. The value of our shared reward will and must be measured by the joyful peace which will triumph because the common humanity that bonds both black and white into one human race will have said to each other, one of us, that we shall all live like the children of paradise. Thus shall we live, because we will have created a society which recognizes that all people are born equal, with each entitled in equal measure to life, liberty, prosperity, human rights, and good governance. The ANC respect black lives and are not interested only in black votes. From his autobiography, The Long Walk to Freedom, published 1955, the ANC's former president, Dr. Mandela, taught us that no one is born hating another person because of the color of his or her skin, or his or her background, or his or her religion. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. As a proud member of the ANC, I have learned to love. Racism springs from the lie that certain human beings are less than fully human. It's a self-centered falsehood that corrupts our minds into believing we are right to treat others as we would not want to be treated. I just love the lyrics of Bob Marley's song, and particularly the following: until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, everything is war. We urge our artists to use the artistic skills in reminding us all.
Please take your seat. Honorable Mlambo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Will the Honorable Makue be prepared to take a question?
Honorable Makwe, will you take a question?
With Bob Marley's lyrics ringing in my head, yes, Chair.
Your question, please, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Makue. Will these pledges, like the one that is being carried around by Honorable Smith, be able to eradicate these racial prejudices that are engulfing our country currently? Thank
Honorable
you.
Makwe.
Chairperson, unfortunately not. Because what we need today is not just a signature of a person. We need action. And the ANC is rooted in action. Things like racism are institutionalized. Sadly and
Honorable
understandably,
Makwe, there is another
many of our
point
nations...
of order. Honorable Makwe, please take your seat. Honorable Hada.
Thank you, Chairperson. Appears that we have found a person who's prepared to take questions. May I also humbly request to put a question to the Honourable Member?
Honorable Makwe, will you take a question?
He is more than welcome to give it to me once I'm finished, Chair.
Honorable Harting is not prepared. Please continue.
Things like racism are institutionalized. Sadly And understandably, many of our nation's white compatriots, like the honorable member, may argue that I do not know bigots. You may feel, honorable member, like, well, I don't hate black people, so I'm not a racist. But you did under apartheid and may even today still benefit from racism. Just by the merit, the color of your skin, the opportunities that you have, you are privileged in ways that you might not even realize because you haven't been deprived of certain things. We need to talk about these things in order for them to change. The African-American writer and civil rights activist James Baldwin aptly warns us that, and I quote, "It demands great spiritual resilience not to hate the hater whose foot is on your neck, and even greater miracle of perception and charity not to teach your child to hate." True patriots, we who are proud of South Africa will heed this warning. We recognize that the apartheid system also partnered with other racists in the economic sphere, the apartheid capitalism. The ANC government is today developing policies to deal with inequalities in the economy. The Black Industrialist Project, driven by the Department of Trade and Industry, is but one example. Watch this space for responsible economic transformation. The ANC National Executive Committee, as a collective leadership through our president, publicly announced in the 2016 January the 8th statement that we will continue to address the economic legacy of apartheid. Race and class are inextricably linked as the result of more than 300 years of systematic discrimination, dispossession, and super-exploitation on the basis of race. There must be redress and ongoing active interventions to ensure that all our people benefit equally from freedom. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable Essak. No, please come.
Honorable Chairperson, I thank you for this opportunity. And yes, indeed, I plan, Honorable Chairperson, to stick to the topic, which for our members in the House, just to recollect. Today, I will talk about advancing our collective efforts to building a united, a non-racial, a non-sexist, democratic South Africa. And I'm so saddened that so many of you missed the point. Really, it's tragic. Very, very tragic. Madam Chairperson, honorable members, colleagues from the DA Students' Organization, you're welcome, fellow South Africans. I come before you today to tell you that the DA is not afraid. We welcome this dialogue indeed, because today we are not afraid of the duty we have for our country. This duty imparts on us that not only must we be conscientious of the racism which affects people, but we need to have concrete solutions to address the racial inequalities in our economy. So, Honorable Makue, I heard you speak about the economy, and I would ask you to give me your undivided attention here. Okay.
Honorable Essak, please take your seat. Honorable Mohapi.
Honorable Chairperson, I just want to ask whether Honorable Member is prepared to take a question.
Honorable Essak, will you take a question?
I will educate him after the debate. Honorable Chairperson, there's a definite no. And yes, as I say, Madam Chairperson, and I'd ask you to listen very carefully to me, my dear colleagues. I too know my roots. I too know where I come from. Because I am also a product of apartheid. So apply your mind and listen carefully. I too was an underprivileged citizen. I too, Madam Chairperson, was not allowed to buy property or to go to an Afrikaans school. I too was a non-entity, and I too felt very much a half-citizen, if that much, in this very country that I was born in, South Africa. The poem by Kafu Aunur, the Ghanaian poet, I'm going to read to you quickly. And I quote, "When the final night falls on us, as it fell upon our parents, we too shall retire to our modest home, earth, sure that we have done our duty by our people. We met the challenge of history, and we were not afraid." So I would say to you then, according to PAXA, Honorable Makue, the food price barometer, the price of the PAXA food basket between the months of November in 2015 and December 2015 increased by 66 Rand 8 cents, some 4.01%. Between the months of December 2015 and January 2016, it further increased by 82 Rand 86 cents, or 4.8%, in just 30 days. I know too many members and citizens that may not seem like much, but to 60% of, for example, Peter Maritzburg households, who earn between 0 and 3,200 Rand a month, according to Stats SA, with only one employed member in the family receiving minimum wages. This means a great deal, Honorable Chair. Madam Chairperson, we cannot speak about race without speaking about racial inequalities in the economy also. Therefore, we have a duty to our people. The DA is committed to this duty, which is why the leader of the DA, Honorable Muzi Maimane, has called upon our structures at all levels, I repeat, at all levels, to set targets for the recruitment and development of our candidates for public office. He has stated publicly and openly that his objective is to ensure that our parliamentary caucus, our legislature caucuses, and our decision-making structures reflects the diversity of our society. We cannot allow our people to be living undignified lives, half-citizens and non-entities 22 years after apartheid. We need concrete solutions, colleagues, to prioritizing a basic education, safer communities, healthy communities, who have job opportunities which they too can choose from. This is the free and fair dream the DA is working towards. So I will tell you very quickly, Chairperson, before my time runs out. Honorable Mokhosi, pay attention.
Don't drown out the speaker.
Honorable Mokhosi, I just wanted to remind you, clever lady, that you too are a member of this parliament. You too earn the same salary like I do. So do not confuse our fellow South Africans out there. Yes,
Honorable Esak, there is a
Chair.
point of order. Honorable Mateis was first. Honorable Mohapi.
I'm liking the treatment today. Thank you, Chair. Will the Honourable Member take a question on why he's personalising racism? We're talking about institutionalised racism here. So would you take a question on that, please, Chair?
Honorable Esak, will you take a question?
Not to get into my time.
He's not prepared, ma'am. Honorable Mohapi.
Okay.
Please
So, Honorable Mokhosi, let me correct you. You are definitely not a product
Honorable
of apartheid.
Mokhosi, Honorable Esak, let's hear what Honorable Mokhosi.
I will explain to you why now.
Honorable Mokhosi?
I hope you're checking my time, Honorable Chairperson.
No, your time will be safe. Honorable Mokhosi.
Right, let's hear you, lady.
Ne ke kopa gore o mpoletse Honorable Isaka ka gore ke utlwa a re open code a quote mo poem gore a le nna ke mo poem ya ga gore ga se ke utlwa re close code on his poem. Thank you.
Honorable Mokhosi, that's not a point of order. Please continue,
Yeah,
Honorable Esak.
Honorable Chairperson, so it doesn't matter. Try next time. Okay, let's quickly, before my time runs out. I got a specific gentleman I want to talk about here, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Mohapi, listen and digest for immediate reference. I am shocked. Don't run away. Please come and sit where you sit. I am shocked that you remain so angry as an honorable member of this parliament and become across as a very unhappy and discontented individual. A man that assaults a woman comes here to preach human values to our country and acts and proposes to be a leader. What I want to say to you, sir, with absolute due respect, You did nothing. You did nothing today here in your speech in promoting a united, non-racial South Africa. Okay. Honorable Monopoly, thank you for your great interest in the DA. It's fantastic. I think you're a great candidate for us. I honestly hope that together, my children and your children can have a true chance of living in a patriotic, non-racial South Africa. Okay, so in conclusion, my fellow colleagues, South Africans, I say to you in the spirit of freedom and fairness, ma'am, let us together build a spirit of patriotism where both of you, both you and I,
Unfortunately, your time
can
has
live our
expired,
dream.
Honorable Member. Esak.
I
Honorable
remain
Makwe, were
a
you-
proud South African, ma'am. Thank you.
Your time has expired. Honorable Makwe.
Chair.
Honorable Makwe.
I'm rising on a point of order,
Yes, Honorable
which you
Makwe.
can request the member, hopefully kindly, Chair, that I thought that the rules is very clear, that we mustn't speak to members directly, but through the Chair. Can the person in future please desist then, Chair, from doing that? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Esak, I think you heard what the Honorable Member says. Speak through the chair and not directly to members. In
I have
future.
a right to respond, ma'am?
No, in future, Honorable Member.
Because I'm ready for him, if you'd
No,
allow
no,
me.
no, I have ruled. In future, please confine yourself to the rules, speak
I'm
through
happy
the
to
chair.
educate him further,
No,
ma'am.
Honorable
With your
Esak,
permission.
please take your
With your
seat.
permission, ma'am.
The next speaker is the Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. My greetings again, especially to the Honorable Minister, because she was not here when I greet earlier. Also, my greetings goes to the young people up there. We are very much grateful that you are here today to listen how we deliberate on issues that affect your future. But Honorable Chair, I must say that I can't stop to be surprised by how opportunistic the DA is. I just want to start with the young people up there. They invited only the black students to come and listen to this debate, a very important debate on racism. Where are the young white people to listen to this debate and the ills of racism? You will never stop using black people. Don't allow yourself, young people, to be used by old people who have everything in their possession.
Honorable Dlamini, please take your seat. Honorable Esak.
Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable Esak,
Honorable
what's your
Chairperson,
point of order?
Through you, can I just check if this honorable member will take a question of guidance?
Honorable Dlamini, will you take a question?
No, I'm still talking to the young people.
She won't take your question, sir. Please proceed,
Please, please, young people, never allow yourself to be used by people who are well off. These people who are talking here today.
Honorable Dlamini, talk to me through in the
Yeah.
house. Mhm.
Yeah, they must never allow themselves to be used. I want to take the example again of Lindiwe Mazibuko. Where is she today? They took her, put her up there, and they throw her down. They are doing the same with the young man, Honorable Maimane. They studied him very well. Out of all these old experienced people in the DA, they chose that young man who never experienced racism because he doesn't have history of our people, so that they can use him. It's a matter of time.
Honorable Dlamini, Honorable
Honorable
Baba?
Chair, with a point of order, I would like the Honorable Dlamini not to make assumptions, as her assumptions is very ungrounded and unfounded. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Faber, you are putting me into trouble because I do not know what you are saying the honorable member is assuming, and therefore I cannot make a ruling.
Honorable Chair, the assumptions about previous leader, Honorable Mazabuku, as well as the assumptions about Honorable Musi Maimane.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Dlamini, I will allow whatever you said as a point in debate. Honorable Faber, take Honorable Dlamini on in a debate. The House stagnates when honorable members get uncomfortable with points of debates and wish and hope that we rule when they should be tackling these matters in their debates. Continue.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me leave those one. Let me come to the House, Chair. When we raise issues of race in the House, it's not because we are racist. We are saying, let's do a head count.
Honorable Dlamini, Honorable Mukwili, you are on the floor.
Thank you. Mama ne ke botsa gore a mme a ka tsaya potso.
Honorable Dlamini, are you prepared to take a question?
Outside, Chair.
She is not willing. Please proceed.
I'm saying, let us do, if the DA is genuine about fighting racism, let's do a head count of their representation. I know it's your right, as you said, their right, as you said, Chairperson, but let's do a head count here in the NCOP and in the NA. How many MPs of the DA who are white, how many who are black? If they are serious about the pledge, Honorable Schmidt, a pledge, we don't want pledges now. We want action. We want action. Walk the talk. That pledge cannot be translated into action. We want action, Honorable Chair. Unfortunately, Honorable Marais is gone. I wanted to start with her. I really appreciate some of the things that she said, but I want to talk to her about sports facilities. And she is saying they are committed to service all people in the Western Cape. Can she say the same if she goes to Hesekwa, Eslang Refill, and look at the sports facilities there and see how bad they are? I'm just taking one example. Sports facilities, Eguguletu, Enyanga, Kalanga, are not the same as the sports facilities in town. Where is the fairness? Where is the quality when it comes to DA? It has not helped to come here and talk about those things, and they are not practicing. She is saying she will wish that the government, the national government, will work with them, not against them. This is a very serious statement, because as I speak now, the equitable share that they are using in the Western Cape is money that is coming from the national government. And most of the projects that they are delivering are coming from the national government. What does he say? What does she mean if she is saying she wished that the national government could be working with them? In fact, the reverse is true. They are busy fighting with the national government. Honorable Chair, it is surprising again to note that each and every day when they come and talk in this podium and talk about the Mandela that they love so much, they never respected any of our black presidents since 1994. Go back to your records. You must do research before you come and debate. And look at the criticism that EDP and the National Party were criticizing President Mandela, as well as President Thabo Mbeki. And now they are criticizing President Zuma. We are not surprised, because I cannot agree with Minister Mo that racism is not about color, but is about economy and power. They feel so threatened and very bad to note that these presidents are not doing what they want them to do, because they want to cling to power and wealth. If you are serious about ending racism, taking wealth and power, why don't you voluntarily, as a DA, give out land to the people which was taken from them? Why don't you do that? then we will see that you are serious. No wonder why in your constitution or your policies, you don't have a non-racial policy because you want to cling to power and wealth on the expense of the majority of South Africans. I'm not surprised why you don't have that policy there. Honorable Chair, we in the ANC are very much committed in ending racism to our people. Honorable Chair, racism was used to justify colonialism. That is why I'm talking about land. First, you took the Doran theory that says the strong must make sure that their power and wealth increase, and the weak, they have to make sure that the weak, their power and wealth decreases. That is where you're coming from with this issue of racism. Because you benefited from it. It is difficult to give out now. You're just saying you're paying lip service to our people. No, you cannot just talk. You cannot just talk. Start here in the Western Cape and give out to those people. The small farmers here in the Western Cape, you rob even those small farmers. They are controlled by the big farmers in the Western Cape. When are you going to give them? No, it can't be like that. Honorable Chair, tourism theory in terms of economy argues that the strong should see their wealth and power increase, that is the DA, while the weak should see their power and wealth decrease.
Honorable Dlamini, Honorable Mukwili, you are on the floor.
Thank you, Chair. On a point of order.
What is the point of order, ma'am?
The point of order is that the ANC is in government. It must legislate the return of land, not the DA. So stop misleading this House. You are in government.
That's not a point of order. Please continue, Honorable Dlamini.
Honorable Chair, I said they must voluntarily, because they are saying they are committing, give out land to the people where they took it from. In the words of Oliver Tambo...
Don't drown out the speaker. Don't drown out the speaker at the podium. Honorable Mtileni.
Honorable Chairperson, we just want to remind Honorable Dlamini that,
you are on a point of remind.
It's raining now.
Honorable Mtileni, there is no point of remind. Please take your seat.
The one,
take your seat.
In government, not the DA. I'm reminding you once more
take your seat.
What has been echoed by Honorable Mukwege.
You are ordered to take your seat now.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Dlamini, don't drown out the speaker on the podium. Please continue, Honorable Dlamini. Oh, I did not see you on the floor, ma'am. Yes. Are you on a point of order?
Sort of. I would like to know...
I don't have a point of sort of, Honorable Spam.
I would like to know if the Honorable Member Dlamini would take a question.
Honorable Dlamini, will you take a question?
Please.
Outside, Chair.
She is not prepared, ma'am.
Honorable Chair, in my conclusion, Honorable Chair, I wanted to talk to the young people out there who are used to fight against each other, black and white, by old people. Don't allow your future to be destroyed by people who don't have your interest at heart. Don't ban your education facilities, because those facilities are yours. The government built those facilities for you to have a brighter future. If there are things or issues that you don't agree with, negotiate. Honorable Chair, they must not be used to destroy their own future. It means that if they destroy their education facilities, they are destroying their own future. Some of them are coming from poor families like me, who are waiting in anticipation to be assisted by them. Those people who are inciting them, they have all what they need. They have money saved for their children. They will send them to tertiaries overseas, but they, out there, their future will be doomed because they have been used by people who don't have interest at heart for their future to be bright as they are. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. The Honorable, the Minister, Justice and Correctional Services, Honorable Masuta.
Chairperson of the NCOP, MECs present from different provinces, chairpersons of committees in the NCOP, honorable members, the House at large. Chair, allow me to start by expressing my profound appreciation of the manner in which you have been able to manage and conduct business in this House. You are firm and yet fair, and I think it is exemplary. Maybe to your advantage, you have less concentration of the color. Maybe you have the added advantage that you have a less concentration of the color red, hence there is less chaos in your house. But let me start, Chair, on that note by indicating that I do not believe that South Africa needs chaos to be reminded of the task at hand. We come from a painful past, and yet we have the legacy of apartheid not completely uprooted out of our society and in our social and economic system. And it will take the collective and constructive effort of all South Africans who have South Africa in their hearts to ensure that we ultimately overcome the demon of apartheid. And let me on that note further state to Honorable Esak, I think it is, from the DA, that yes, you say you are not afraid. Yes, you are not afraid to speak about race, but speaking about it is not enough. It's in the doing, as Honorable Dlamini has so aptly indicated. Start with a demonstration here in the Western Cape where you have an opportunity to show that you can actually, through your own deeds, change the living conditions of people of Khayelitsha and Gugulethu and the Cape Flats, which the apartheid demon has imposed upon them from the days of their grandparents and great-grandparents. Start demonstrating your commitment to the object of non-racism that is articulated in our Constitution and, of course, in all the policies of the ANC as the governing party, by beginning to ensure that in the allocation of resources within your disposal, that you act in bias in favor of those that have historically been disadvantaged. By so doing, you will not only be showing your boldness in confronting racism, but you'd actually be taking concrete steps to eradicate it. But let me go on, Chairperson, and talk to a few other points that colleagues have raised during the course of the debate. Indeed, as the Minister of Home Affairs indicated, apartheid thrived on two principles: instilling fear and enticing those that stand to benefit from it by ensuring that it constantly and continuously allocate preferential treatment to those who continued over days of history to enjoy privilege to the exclusion of those that were left out, dating back, of course, to the establishment of the Union in 1910, when South Africa was confronted with what was used to be called then white poverty, where South Africa embarked on a systematic process of ensuring that the socio-economic architecture of the policies of the programs of government are dedicated towards eradicating white poverty, ensuring that there's full employment amongst white people, and completely living out the rest of the population of this country. We can do better, all of us, by confronting the underlying causes of racism that continue to be resilient in our society and ensure that all benefits accrue to all equally in our society. Now, on the 11th of this month in 1990, exactly some 26 years ago, our nation and the rest of the world woke up from a dream come true when the father of the nation and first president of a democratic South Africa, Nelson Mandela, was released after 27 years in jail. This marked a special moment in the history of our struggle against racial discrimination and the start of a new path in which South Africa put itself on in pursuit of the ideal of a non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous and democratic society. The full attainment of this ideal could obviously not be realized in only 2 decades of our democracy. This reality dawns to all of us with the recent sporadic incidents in some parts of the country, which reminded us of Madiba's words when he said, and I quote, "No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate. If they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes naturally to the human heart than its opposite," end quote. Whilst our democracy has only entered its 22nd year of existence, our struggle for democracy the rule of law, human rights, and fundamental freedoms is decades old. South Africans of all persuasions who believed in the inherent dignity and equality of all human beings have fought gallantly for justice, equality, and freedom. This is what our struggle stalwarts, Oliver Tambo, Chris Hani, Joe Slovo, Govan Mbeki, and others fought for and died for. In his recent State of the Nation address, that is the SONA, and in light of the upsurge in racist incidents that manifested themselves, especially on social media, President Jacob Zuma stated that there is a need to confront the demon of racism and declared Human Rights Day, that is the 21st of March, as the National Day Against Racism this year. Therefore, and quite appropriately so, the 2016 Human Rights Month and Human Rights Day celebrations on 21st March will be commemorated under the slogan, and I quote, "No to racism, not in my name," end quote. This day will be used to up the ante in implementing a long-term program of building a non-racial society. This calls for national dialogues and community conversations to discuss how we can take forward our important task of building a non-racial society. It is against this background and a mandate given to South Africa by the United Nations World Conference Against Racism held in Durban in 2001 that the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development has undertaken to produce a national action plan to combat racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerances, the NAP. The purpose of the National Action Plan is to combat racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerances in the Republic of South Africa. And that is if our country is to provide and our country is intended to provide a comprehensive policy framework to address racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerances at both a private and public level. The NAP is not intended to replace existing laws and policies, but rather to be complementary to existing legislation, policies, and the different programs which address equality, equity, and discrimination in our country. Honorable Chairperson, our ANC-led government is a government of action, and I'm pleased to share with this House that on Monday, 29 February to 1 March 2016, we will be hosting a two-day high-level national consultative dialogue and launch an event with targeted role players and stakeholders. Members will recall that in December 2015, Cabinet approved the draft National Action Plan, and accordingly, accordingly, the plan should now be consulted upon by all sectors of society. Once consultations are completed, a final National Action Plan will be produced and popularized to ensure that all South Africans rally behind the plan. South Africa has passed a number of laws to give effect to its constitutional goals of achieving equality, human dignity, and the advancement of human rights and freedoms in South Africa. During the first 20 years of democracy, more than 1,200 laws and amendments aimed at dismantling apartheid and eradicating all forms of discrimination were approved by Parliament. New and amended legislation was put in place to enforce equality and preventing discrimination, such as the Employment Equity Act, 1998, the Promotion of Access to Information Act, 2000, the Promotion of Administrative Justice Act, 2000, and the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act of 2000. In addition, the new government passed legislation dealing with land restitution, the upgrading of land tenure, the facilitation of access to housing, and the provision of social assistance to those in need. These laws address systematic inequalities and unfair discrimination that manifested in the institutions of society and the practices and attitudes of South Africans insofar as this undermine the aspirations of our constitutional democracy. Yet it would be naive to expect even the best drafted laws to eradicate decades, if not centuries, of oppression and institutionalized discrimination. It is very clear to us all that racism remains a key challenge in our society. The inequalities that were created and institutionalized by the apartheid system is still prevalent 22 years on, be it the structural inequalities that we are all familiar with, or people's personal prejudices that have been expressed and demonstrated in many ways and forms. Clearly, it is a matter requiring an integrated response from both state and non-state actors. We must, as a nation, confront this unfortunate and sad reality and truthfully engage with issues of social justice, we must prevent the hampering of efforts that are being done towards integration in our society. We as South Africans, we owe it to ourselves to oppose racism, for it encroaches on our quest for integration, transformation, and the building of social cohesion and a single nation. In confronting the demon of racism and racial discrimination, it is important to understand the context in which this behavior manifests itself, either in a public place, workplace, and institution of higher learning, amongst others. This in itself will demonstrate a one-size-fits-all approach will demonstrate that a one-size-fits-all approach will not help in overcoming racism and racial discrimination in our society. In essence, it refers to rules, norms, routines, patterns, and attitudes and behavior in institutions and other societal structures that represent obstacles to groups or individuals in achieving the same rights and opportunities that are available to the dominant group. Honorable Chairperson, the much publicized fracas at the rugby field at the University of Free State clearly demonstrates the level of intolerance amongst our students and gradual erosion of attempts to distract us from ensuring, in an attempt to distract us from ensuring social cohesion. We must unequivocally condemn opportunistic individuals and political parties that have made irresponsible statements that border on inciting attacks on other races, as that flies in the face of nation-building efforts. As a nation, we must be united in order to combat this terrible re-emergence we call racism. We know that the DA-led Western Cape government has promoted white supremacy agenda that is inconsistent with the nationally agreed programs that have been articulated within the framework of the National Development Plan. Yes, what you tend to do is to do everything to detract from a common national development agenda, which the entire nation subscribes to, purely because you want to create a separatist state of sorts. Their attitude flies in the face of our efforts as the ANC to ensure a better life for all and not for some of our people. This is evident in the destitute conditions that our people in Khayelitsha and other poor areas in the Western Cape, as I said earlier, continue to live under. It is only the ANC-led government that can rescue our people from those apartheid-era conditions. Honorable members, in a bid to complement the NAP, our department is in the process of finalizing a draft bill, the purpose of which is to create a statutory
Do not drown the
offense.
speaker.
Is to
Continue,
create a
Minister.
statutory offense of hate crimes as a result of the unfortunate racism incidents alluded to above, some of which involved members of a party that's represented in this parliament, unfortunately, in which hate speech manifested itself. There is a need to consider expanding the draft bill to include hate speech as an offense. I may also add that a a prevention and combating of hate crimes and hate speech bill features on the department's 2016 legislative program. This is because this government takes the challenge of eradicating racism and other intolerances seriously, and we will spare no effort nor energy in ensuring the speedy piloting of this law through the processes of Parliament, and we look forward to your support, honourable members, in this pursuit. Before the bill is submitted to Parliament, it will be subjected to a broad consultative process. I hope to be able to introduce the bill into Parliament around August, September this year, subject to the outcome of that consultative process. Some of the urgent measures we must look into in combating racism include strengthening efforts to address the social and economic inequalities as outlined in the National Development Plan 2030, strengthening our human rights education efforts, ensuring that the concerns of individuals and groups encountering racism and racial discrimination are more effectively addressed through the constitutional and legislative mechanisms established to deal with issues of this nature, such as the Chapter 9 institutions and the equality courts, which were alluded to in the course of the debate. We need to increase the effectiveness and coherence of measures against racism and racial discrimination, and finally promote legislation and policy to improve the protection of victims of racism. Let's fight the scourge of racism by adopting an integrated approach, as together we can do more. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I am sure that none of us in this House will disagree, and that none of us will agree that we started racism. I'm also sure that all of us in this House have examples of how racism, sexism has affected us. It is important that as members of the NCOP, not just members of Parliament, we continuously remember to look at the impact of whatever it is that passes through this House. It is also important for me to thank the special delegates, all of them, those who are still in the House and those who have had to leave because the planes are leaving them. We thank them very much. It is important for us to thank the two ministers who availed themselves to this important debate. It would be important for me, and I suggest, Chief Whip, that we do look at a program, not just a debate, of the NCOP, to come out with tangible things that as the House we can say we are doing to start fighting racism. It will be important as members of the House not to continue to poke fingers in each other's eyes over this issue, but to begin to say it has happened, it is continuing. How do we come together to combat this matter? On that note, honorable members, this concludes the business of the day, and members are requested to continue standing until the procession has left the House. We are adjourned.